Yeah, I'd say that makes sense. I um I don't know. Okay. On. Okay, there should be mine, and then that should be yours. We should be good to
Hello,
go.
hello.
Say, do that one more time.
Hello, hello, hello.
Okay, I can see your mic moving. Hopefully, it comes through here.
Fingers crossed.
Okay, I think it's working. If not, chat should let us know in a sec. I know my wife's
Oh,
listening in. Um, hmm,
how long you been married?
uh, for almost 3 years.
Oh, well, congratulations. Very nice.
So uh well in February, I guess, is our anniversary. So
Nice.
very excited for that.
How long have I been married now?
Okay, so I can hear
17,
you.
18 years, I think.
I can hear you through the stream, so everything should be
Perfect.
going good. All right. So welcome, welcome,
Hi,
welcome.
Nightwing.
Nightwing in the chat. Sebastian said he might swing through. So I'm super excited. This has been a long awaited collaboration um, from two people that have way too much time on their hands thinking about One Piece. Um, so I am very much an honor. I'm very honored to have the broker here with me today. The guy who stays in that TOPT chat, just waiting to drop theories. And I have the pleasure of having him on, and we are going to go theory for theory, and we are going to talk, discuss, and just enjoy One Piece for what it is. Because I personally, and I say this in every one of my streams, One Piece is better as a conversation. So I can't wait to have the conversation with the broker. Do you have any words to say, broker, before we jump on in?
No, I couldn't agree more. This is the best thing about One Piece is that the community that it builds when you talk with other people. You hear theories, even if you hear the occasional, somebody riding their favorite character and stuff like that. But it's okay. It's all harmless fun.
Yeah, it definitely is. Agenda piece is so real in the
Yep.
community. I've seen so many people. Some people have very abysmal takes, in my personal opinion.
Marco. Marco.
Oh my God. Like, there's just so many. I've seen so many people. Oh, I see Toby is in our TikTok live chat. And yes, this is Broker with me as well. So we are ready to rock and roll, and we are ready to enjoy this great time we have here. So, um I was just thinking about one of the abysmal takes that I saw online, and I actually do want to get your opinion on it. So,
Go for it.
in in most of the whole thing, and this is why it's insane. Saw someone championing the fact that they think that Luffy's Gear 5 is not Toon Force.
What?
Yes, this person said like it is not explicitly said that he has Toon Force, and I'm like, well, Oda usually doesn't do that.
No,
Oda doesn't
never.
explicitly say a lot of things. It is implied. It is how exactly how he says. It is a matter of reading comprehension, and some
There
people
are
just
still
don't have it.
there is there are still 29 devil fruits in the series that have not been named. Well, you've seen their powers, etc., but they've not actually been named in the manga. Every now and again, he'll name one like in an SBS and stuff, but most of the time, we're just left like longing for what it is.
Yeah. But this person says that what is happening with Luffy is it is just yeah, when the whole thing came out that it was like, oh, this his scarf and like his powers are just the gateway to Nika's fantasy. And so I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. But like Nika's fantasy is imagination. It's like so him doing all of these things is exactly that. Like it's his imagination. He's able to do anything he imagines, and he imagines something very cartoony.
Yeah,
And so
that's Toon
like
Force.
exactly. And he went on to say something like whenever Nami has like the berries for the eyes or does Sanji has hearts for his eyes. These are just Oda just like over because he loves cartoon gags that he's just overdoing them when it comes to Gear 5 Luffy. And I'm like, that is so not true. Like it just seems like such a I don't know, for lack of a better word, a dog shit take. And I'm just like, dude, like how can you watch him just like turn Kaido to a jump rope and be like, not Toon Force. Him taking a tree and turning it into a baseball bat and painting it with hockey.
Yep.
Like those are so Toon esque things. Like, it's absolutely crazy.
It's like it might as well be the genie from Aladdin. pulling random stuff out his ass.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Like it's crazy to think that
It
there are
really,
people out there that
that's
believe
mad.
that it's not Toon Force. Um, but all right. And now after that little bit of a warm up, do you want to take first crack at these theories?
No, 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 no. By all means, you go first.
Okay. So I this is more headcanon-y theory, but I agree with some of the things. I think Yamato and a few other characters are possibly going to re-enter the story, but I think that there might be a very interesting way in which they do. So I think we are going to, and then this is my theory. I think Katakuri is going to take over the Big Mom Pirates in her
I,
absence.
I can see that definitely.
And I think what's going to happen is they are going to track Blackbeard down to Wano.
Ooh,
And they are going to go and try and fight him. And they are going to get absolutely decimated by Blackbeard. I think that he's going to get Pluton, and that is how we are going to see the true strength of Pluton, is because it is
oh,
going to
excellent.
wipe out the Big Mom pirates with almost no problem. And it's just going to be such a wash that the only person that's going to survive is Katakuri.
Wow. See,
And
it's that's very close to my theory on it. Very, very close.
yes. So what's going to happen is Yamato is going to find Katakuri, and she is going to go and set out to find the Straw Hats with Katakuri. And Katakuri is going to ask Luffy for help because the only family he has left is Pudding, and Pudding is in Blackbeard's hands.
Damn.
And so Luffy is going to invite him and Yamato to go to the final war together as a crew, and Katakuri is going to join the Straw Hats. It's a little
What
head
as an
canon
actual member?
as an actual member.
Oh wow. Okay, okay. That goes in a very different direction to mine now. So,
Okay.
my take on it is I think that exactly like you say, Blackbeard is going to like find out about Pluton from Caribou. They're all going to go to Wano and basically using Pizarro, literally they can just physically lift Pluton out from the water. Pizarro can control the entire island and everything about it. So if he needs to, he literally just mega giant hands and put Pluton in the ocean for Blackbeard to get into. But I think the cover story we've seen with Yamato, what that's going to be, we'll find out, is that she is gathering stuff to leave Wano. She wants to go. She said she wants to do her own adventure first. And that's why she's gathering all these things. I think she'll probably take Otama with her and Shinobu, and they will leave, and therefore they're not there to defend Wano when Blackbeard turns up. So you could have the
Mm.
Scabbards get completely defeated, Momo gets defeated. It would probably be another thing. So Momo would run away with one of the Scabbards again, like to almost like a callback to Dressrosa, like to go into hiding so that they can't steal the fruit from Momo as they know Blackbeard will try to do. And one of the worst things, like the insult to injury, while they're there stealing Pluton, Shiryu will go there and he'll steal Shusui. He'll steal the sword that used to belong to Ryuma and declare himself having a black blade, even though he didn't blacken it himself.
Mm. That could be pretty good considering how much like the fandom talks shit on Mihawk and him
Yep.
possibly not blackening his own blade. To see a Blackbeard pirate do the same thing that we've been claiming that Mihawk has done because of how grimy they are, I honestly would love it. I really would. I think
It's
that
it
that would
it
be
sounds like
perfect.
such a Blackbeard pirate thing to do. Don't do the work, just steal someone else's.
Yeah, that I do like that. I don't know how much I like Pizarro just taking Pluton out. I feel like those walls have to come down. And the thing that would be really interesting about it if Blackbeard was the one to do it was because they wanted to open the borders for Joy Boy and to have basically the antithesis of Joy Boy be the one to bring down the walls by force, I feel like would
Oh,
be
100%.
somewhat poetic. It would
Oh, you could
also
have both.
completely like turn the Wano upside down.
Yep.
Like it would be so insane to have like the flower capital, all the water go out of it and everything, because once those walls comes down, there's no water like in any of the lakes that are supposed to be at in Wano. Like so essentially all the water would come rushing out, and then they would have no way to get down really because the waterfalls are like the only way to get down. So it'd be
Yeah.
like they would also be isolated. So it would be really interesting though. But I do think that like that definitely has some merit. I really like the Shiryu thing because dude's just grimy. He is. And so are all the Blackbeard pirates.
Well, we could
Um,
combine the two things. We could literally put your bit where Blackbeard, before Pizarro does anything, Blackbeard destroys the walls, cracks everything, and then basically Pizarro just recovers what was left, like
yeah,
all the everything destroyed, and then Pizarro makes it easier for Pizarro to then bring Pluton to the surface.
yeah. I definitely like that. The reason I really want Kat and Yamato to join is because I think it fits really well with my thoughts on what Luffy's crew will look like by the end of the series. And the reason why I think Kat and um Yamato join is because I think that that gives them what I believe to be the closest comparison and also like almost the perfect mirror of what the Rocks Pirates were.
Yes.
And because you have, Luffy as Rocks, you have, you know, you have Zoro being like the which if we're going like by what they use, I would say Zoro's probably Shiki because he uses swords. I would say that since Katakuri uses a spear similar to kind of how like Whitebeard had like the I forget what it's called. But
The
they all have
halberd.
yeah, like the halberd. Um, and then you have, Yamato, similar to Kaido. Like it is just like by then it would be to me almost a mirror of
Yeah, I like that a
the
lot.
the Rocks Pirates because I think uh I think a lot of people think that they're supposed to be a mirror of the Roger Pirates. Um, but in all actuality, we don't know enough about the Roger Pirates and even what they stand for. And so, like, putting them to a one-to-one comparison when we know so many of the Rocks Pirates because they're all legends in our time. We know what Whitebeard wanted as a dream. We know he just wanted a family. What does Katakuri want? He wants to protect his family. Like, there's so many different parallels that go along with this that, like, when it boils down to it, I think that the Rocks Pirates weren't actually these evil people. I think they were very much like the Straw Hats. And they were just
Interesting.
and Otis said that a lot of the depictions of what we see as you know uh the families and things like that, like the way we see the characters now, are the broken dreams versions of them. Similar to how when he draws the Straw Hats in like the good timeline versus the bad timeline,
Yes,
we got to
yes,
see only bad timeline Kaido. We got to see bad timeline Big Mom, where their dreams have been crushed, but then they still try to do them, but they're kind of twisted by the way that they were, uh like they lost rocks. They lost the one thing. Like a lot of the crew in the Rocks Pirates, I feel like wouldn't be the way they are today had they not lost rocks. Like it's
agreed.
almost as if he was the guiding hand that kept them
Well,
all
it
together.
exactly like you say, comparison. If it's the same as if the Straw Hats lost Luffy, if the Straw Hats ever lost
Exactly.
Luffy, they would fall apart.
100%. And that's why, like, whenever someone asks the questions like who would take up the mantle of captain once Luffy goes, they wouldn't.
Nobody.
It
Yeah,
just
no
it
one.
just couldn't be. And that's why I love when Mihawk and like all these other people note that Luffy has this power to bring people together. And when we've looked at who was in the Rocks Pirates and how they all came together, you're like, there's no way that many conquerors would bend the knee to Luffy, or to someone if they weren't forced into submission. But it's just like, wouldn't they join? I mean, for the right purpose, for the right person, I think that
Exactly.
anybody can do it. And what if Rox had that same power to gather people? I mean, look at that. He was the king of Pirate Island, you know, and a lot of people want to say like, oh, he just made them submit, and it's like maybe he did, but I feel as though they all liked Rocks to a certain extent. He's just being painted in this light by Oda because he wants to change things, and I think that that speaks to the narrative a lot because he constantly misrepresents certain things to then switch up and be like, this is actually the truth, you know and I truly believe that by the end of this, we will see that type of thing. And it would make sense because we know confirmed Whitebeard was a conqueror, Kaido is a conqueror, and we know that uh
Big Mom.
Big Mom was a conqueror. And so if you have Yamato, Katakuri, and then you have Zoro, you have three conquerors under Luffy, the current conqueror. Like, and I think that that would be a really great parallel.
I love it. The only thing I would change is that instead of Katakuri becoming a full Straw Hat, he would lead a section of Luffy's Grand Fleet.
I can see that too.
Just
I
just just because of the whole I want 10, crew members thing.
I I agree with that. The
He
only
he
thing
would be a
is,
great general. He'd be a fantastic general in the wars that are coming.
yeah, I think that that would be good if the Big Mom pirates actually do survive. I think that that could very well be what happens instead.
Yeah,
But if they get all wiped out, I see him joining. I see him being like, if you help me get my only sister back, I will join you and I will be, part of your crew. Um
yeah, I love it.
and it just makes sense for Cat's character, especially because he very much admired Luffy and liked Luffy a lot. He just had smoke for him because he was in Whole
Well,
Cake,
yeah, well, he lets him win as well. Katakuri got. I know people don't like this, but Katakuri got up first. Katakuri could have launched just one more attack, killed Luffy when he's down in the pit, and it would have been over. But he doesn't. He lets him, just lets him go past.
Yeah, and that's why I think that a lot of the people that even get messed up by Luffy have respect for him afterwards.
Yep.
Even Crocodile had a ton of respect for Luffy afterwards. And
It's why he helps him at Marineford.
well, so that plays into a different theory on why I think the
Oh,
crocodiles
okay.
help. But
Interesting.
um but I do believe that everyone who got smoked by Luffy has respect. I mean, look at Bellamy. You know, even in Dressrosa,
Yep.
after he got, he got beat up by Doflamingo, told he that he was going to get assassinated. Like, there's so many times where Bellamy could have been like, "Yeah, I'm gonna cut my losses with this guy," but no, he just kept going. So, um,
Yeah,
overall,
you're
that
absolutely
is
right.
my main theory for what comes of the Big Mom pirates, and also how Wano and Yamato play into the future.
I really like it.
Thank you, thank you.
That's really, really good.
So now on to you.
Again, yeah. So, well, where to start? Where to start? In hmm. Oh, well, let's go something current first with Loki. I think, well, controversial take first. I don't think the Giants are all that impressive in terms of their strength. Not really. Like they're obviously much stronger than the average human, but every member of the Straw Hats is much stronger than the average human. They're big, yes, powerful, but they've not really had any big feats for a long, long time. Like Dorian Broggy, they lost to Mister Three. They they lost to the Wax Man. And yes, like he obviously, did some nefarious thing, cheated, whatever, but they still lost. And they kill a giant goldfish, fine. But I think what we'll find out is that just the Straw Hats have surpassed so much in strength, and it will give characters that need that, like the confidence boost, like Usopp. It's like, look, Usopp, you are stronger than some of these giants here. That's how far you've come. Things like that would be great. But I think that Loki's devil fruit, the reason he was so difficult to apprehend is because he has a shapeshifter fruit. So, like how Bon Clay can transform into different people, Loki can transform into different creatures, any creature that exists or did exist in the One Piece world. And that includes the mythical things, phoenixes, dragons, and the sun god. And that's why he is able to claim to be the sun god, because he has that ability to transform into that creature. He doesn't have the ability to use the awakened like Zoan form, like where you like hybrid. He can only turn into the creatures. He can't become a hybrid form. But it would make sense to why he was so difficult to apprehend. If he could just turn into a fly and fly away and just get out, just it also bears a resemblance to an ability that Loki has in like proper Norse mythology.
Yeah.
He's a shapeshifter. He's able to change into different things in order to escape justice and stuff like that. I just think that would be really interesting.
So I agree with that. I do, because one, we have seen time and time again in the story that there's always a like fruit that comes about, and then you get a counterpart to that fruit that is almost better. Like
Yep,
Pika, and the island fruit, like Avalo Pizarro. Like
exactly.
we've seen so many times, but we've never seen a better version of Bon Clay's fruit.
Yep.
And so that actually is funny that you bring up a fruit like that, because I actually had a theory when we were doing the what was it called? It was in Egghead. It was with the death game where like everyone was trying to figure out who was this mysterious betrayer amongst
Oh yes.
everyone. And I had a theory that Vegapunk, in all his genius, made actually a seraphim version of himself that he eventually was going to move his mind into.
Oh, like a failsafe.
Yes, like his body was
Excellent.
going
Excellent.
to, if his body were to die, his brain and all its knowledge would eventually just transmit right into seraphim.
I love that.
But and this is why I got this. We got 6 Vegapunks in total, but there are 7 deadly sins. And I
Yes.
went through and I thought, okay, so this Vegapunk, if he would make a seraphim version of himself, one, it would have green blood, so it would have to have some form of fruit power. And then I went and thought, okay, what fruit power would be the best to basically play a whodunit game of Clue? And I was like, Bon Clay was in Impel Down. If the Seraphim version of Vegapunk had Bon Clay's fruit and was just constantly changing in and out with people, it would be probably the best way to do a murder. Like, and
Yes,
so I was
definitely.
like, that would be genius if something like that were to happen. And the reason I thought that was I thought that um it was going to be that Vegapunk gained sentience without Vegapunk's knowledge. Like it automatically, without trying, was syncing to Punk
Oh,
records. And so it
damn.
had all of the knowledge, and that's why it was able to carry out all these murders
Like
simul
Ultron from Marvel.
exactly. And what's even better is um, who's a huge fan of Terminator is
Yep.
Oda. And so it would have been perfect if there was like an S Punk that would have been the Seraphim version of Vegapunk that was jealous of all of the like knowledge and everything, all of the research then and everything that went into it. Vegapunk was getting thanked for all of it, but yet he was the one who was, not being thought of. So all those years as this failsafe just kind of grew dust, gained would just had dust on it. It finally started to resent all the Vegapunks, and that's why I tried to kill all of them. So that was
Hmm.
my original thought, but it makes sense if Loki has this clone ability similar to Bon Clay's, but on an even greater level. Um, that would be really interesting. But the I guess the question for me is if he's copying like Luffy's ability, then wouldn't he just be stretchy?
No. So this is something that I have no idea why, but so many people just do not talk about. I think I was the first to talk about it like completely. The form we see Luffy in with his awakening, Gear 5, that is the hybrid form of that creature. We have never seen the full animal form of Sun God Nika. When you awaken a Zoan fruit, you awaken it into the hybrid form. So like you get the extra muscles, etc., like with the way Lucci got it and stuff like that. So at the moment, we are yet to see the full extent of the transformation of Luffy's devil fruit. And I actually, I don't know if you can put things up. I will send you an image about how I honestly think it's going to look, which will sound ridiculous to you. I'm sure it will, but I honestly believe this is true.
Okay.
There we go. I've sent an image. That is how I think Nika will look.
Let me bring it up here. Okay, I'm trying here. Oh, interesting. Let me see if I can pull that up over here.
There we go.
Okay.
Yes, there we go. Literally a black and white character. That's how the full Nika transformation will look. That's why when Luffy lost, the color literally drains out of him. Like the colors start to go, less
Mm.
temperate. And I think that's how the Loki's form will look. And the caveat for transforming that way, like using that full transformation, is that defensively, your Toon Force makes you almost indestructible. But your
Hmm.
damage output is decreased because a cartoon character can't hurt people. Like it can damage somebody, but it can't do lethal damage. And that will be the during the end fight when it's finally Luffy versus Blackbeard, it will be Luffy experimenting and be literally having to fight in all three forms almost at the same time when fighting Blackbeard, having to go full human form to do like the big strong like Conqueror's Haki punches, then back into hybrid in order to use Toon Force, and then into his full Nika form to defend himself.
Mm. That's actually really interesting because that kind of plays into how people think that Nika might have been a Lunarian,
Yep,
because they have their attack and defense mode, but then you would be getting
exactly.
like the third. Um, that would be pretty interesting. I will say that. I love it. It's very Steamboat Willie style, and
Yes,
I
exactly,
very
exactly.
much like that.
Cuphead.
Yeah, Cuphead. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Which again
really
is
like that.
to me that's what Nika is. It's Toon Force, therefore it's going to be a cartoon.
Yeah, I mean I love it. I do because I
Uh,
think that that is exactly what Oda would go for. He would love
of
something like
course, of
that.
course.
Um, and it makes sense that he would have this type of thing. Yeah, Sebastian said in the chat, Mr. Game and Watch type beat. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yes, exactly.
100%. Um, which is funny that
But
I
I
was
would
just playing Smash Brothers last night.
I would love to see Loki in that form.
That would be interesting. Now, I guess my question is that would be insane because if like for some reason, just imagine the PTSD that Emu would have seeing
Yep.
um seeing like Bonnie using Gear 5, Luffy using Gear 5, and then Loki doing like the Toon Force thing. It would be so funny. He would did like Emu would just be like, how can this happen? Like, how many more Gorsei do I have to kill? Um, no, that would be crazy. I would love that. Um, honestly, I think that that would be very interesting. Now, I want to know what the extent of it is. Um, like as far as like can he can he hold it, how long can he transform into these things, can he
I
transform freely, like could he be
yes.
Marco, like he be the Phoenix out of
Yes.
nowhere.
Exactly. So again, he can turn into any of these creatures, but he cannot use the hybrid form. So he couldn't be like a human phoenix. He couldn't be like Kaido's dragon human form. He would only be able to turn into the animals themselves.
Hmm. I like it. I mean, I really do. I think that it would be a perfect like representation of Loki. He's a trickster. He's able to do these type of
Exactly.
things.
Exactly.
And
And
I mean, we
it
even see it in the MCU when he's talking to
yep,
Thor and he transforms into Captain America and does all like it would be very, very interesting to see something like that happen.
it would
Just
also lead into how it would also lead into how the fight between like the Straw Hats and Loki will go. So, unfortunately, this is like a fact of shonen and things like that. Because Loki's bounty is lower than Luffy's, it's very unlikely those two will fight. So maybe
mm,
Zoro, maybe Sanji. What I think it will actually happen instead is that once Loki has been set free, he will just go on the run. He'll like transform into a bug and disappear, and the rest of like well, a good chunk of Elbaf will basically be like a game of hide and seek, and it will give a perfect opportunity for a certain character that has really good observation haki to use that in order to track down Loki, i.e., Usopp.
mm.
So Usopp would finally get a time to shine. Usopp would find he wouldn't be able to again. So you could have a fight between like the weakling trio versus Loki. I would love that.
You think that's where like Loki scales? Or do you think that
I
they would just be enough to, render
I
him
yeah,
defenseless?
I think it would they would win, but barely. It would be extremely high difficulty. But if you took the weakling trio, maybe add Robin as well, maybe add Frankie, have those the same way how the Straw Hats defeated Oars,
Ah,
but without the monster quadrio, backing them up. So no Jinbei, no Sanji, no Zoro, no Luffy. You can
Hmm.
find some way to remove them from the story, probably to do with Shanks or the mysterious like shadowed character that we know is like on Elbaf somewhere. Just and then you could have them. It's like, look, we need to track down Loki before he does X, whatever it is, and that's when it literally becomes like a giant game of hide and seek. They are trying to track down a creature that can become anything it wants to.
That would be pretty interesting. Oh, I like it, but my only bias against it is I think Loki's stronger than we think.
Okay,
I think that his bounty is I think that he's above like Yonko Commander 1. I think that now obviously we have to see the flashback. We have to see what Loki actually did in the past. I think
yes,
that it could be, a complete misunderstanding. I don't know if he actually killed his dad for the fruit or whatever. I think that that could be like a red herring. I think that
yeah,
that's
I
what we're
agree.
being told, but I don't think Loki's actually evil. I feel like, and I think it would make sense just because Oda loves that trope. He loves to introduce someone right off of the heels of the beginning of an arc. Say, hey, this person's evil, and then we get to switch up and be like, hey,
Yeah.
not actually evil. This person was the evil person that made this happen. Um, so I very much think that that's a very big possibility that we could get in the near future. And I actually, it made me think of, I think for some reason, and maybe this is just me, I think Luffy will fight him, but I think that Luffy's going to basically not no diff him, but do him real
Low.
dirty.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think what it's going to lead to is I think that there's a good possibility that Loki and Kid might team up.
Oh, interesting.
I think that Kid might be the one to actually release Loki and send basically join up with him to take out the red hair pirates.
Yes,
Lu
because that was that you're absolutely right. Because remember, that was the deal that Loki was offering: set me free, and I will kill one pirate of your choice.
Yeah, and
And
I think
with
that
it,
Kid
that's
has all the
absolutely
smoke
who,
for
yes,
Shanks.
who Kid would, of course, exactly. No, I really like that. I really like that. I
And
just an extra thought.
yeah.
I've just realized people keep asking. It's like, oh, why are Loki's eyes wrapped up? Why are the wrapped his eyes? Maybe so. In order to make his fruit not quite as broken as it could be, he has to see an example of what he wants to transform into. So once he's seen it, he can transform into it forever, and that includes like in history books and stuff like that. Anytime like there's been an example of something like in the newspapers, he can see it. Once he sees it, he can transform into it.
That could be. So do you think that he's blind? Like they blinded him because his power was too much? Or do you think
No, I
that
I think he can still see. They've just wrapped his eyes up so that
okay.
he can't see another thing that might give him more power.
Okay. I agree with that. I don't think that he's blind. I think that I think that it honestly would make sense. Like and it goes along with what we were saying about how Von Clay's power, he has to touch their face one time and then he can
Yes.
transform into it. But the upgraded version of that would just be, hey, I have to just see you to
Yeah,
turn into you.
exactly.
So I
Exactly.
think that that fits with that narrative very well. Um, but yeah, I think that there's a good chance that Kid frees Loki and they both try to gather their forces to go at Shanks one more time and Luffy stops them
Yeah.
and
Again, I
basically
think that
puts
sounds
them in their
I think that
place.
sounds perfect. I
I would
definitely,
also
I definitely think the red. Sorry, I definitely think that the kid pirates are still alive. Maybe they're in prison too, somewhere on Elbap, but I don't think they're dead. Especially not Kid and Killer.
I 100% agree. Like maybe some of the fodder background characters, sure,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Yeah,
but there's no way that I think that they're dead.
yeah,
And I'm hesitant to bring it up, but I do think that Shiki is going to play a role in this um in Elbaf. I think that there's no way that we don't get any sort of Shiki stuff in Elbaf. Just because
yeah,
we've seen a lot of evidence of that. And I think that Shiki uh it actually plays kind of into Sebastian's thought process from the last few times he's talked about Shiki being on Elbaf. And he said that Shanks got the title of Yonko from beating Shiki.
yeah. I
And
love that.
if Shiki's on Elbaf and he wants revenge on Red Hair as well, imagine him teaming up with Loki and Kid to try and get revenge on Shanks.
It would be
Um,
perfect.
it would be perfect because everybody apparently has smoke for Shanks.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. See,
Oh, I just thought of how it would end as well, heartbreakingly. Oh, you just give me an idea. So I think you're right. I think that by the end of Elbaf, the redhead pirates have been fighting loads of people. They've been fighting the kid pirates. They've been fighting a Loki, and that then the person that turns up is Blackbeard. And Blackbeard and the rest of the Blackbeard pirates attack the redhead pirates, who are now absolutely drained. They're tired. They're fatigued, and that's how Blackbeard gets the advantage.
honestly, that would be so that would be so Blackbeard. Um, because I can only
It's
imagine
it's
like
it's an exact parallel of what he did to Whitebeard. Remember, they were there watching what was happening, waiting for Whitebeard to take more damage before they did anything.
yeah. And you know, it's possible that Shanks is searching for Blackbeard. And I mean, who knows? This could actually be the full like events that happen. And
Yes.
maybe we don't even get like the Straw Hats stopping Loki and Kid and Shiki from doing these sort of things.
Yep.
Imagine they just follow Shanks and they all end up on Pirate Island at the same time. Like, and there's just a huge conflict there. And the kid pirates, Shiki and Loki are all fighting the red hair pirates like right off the coast or like right as they get into town. And then Blackbeard just comes in and mops them up. I
Yep.
mean, and that could be the huge trigger of the war that is to come. Sebastian said, I
Yep.
think
I just saw.
Blackbeard uses Pluton to wipe all his Yonko contemporaries, while the Straw Hats, Red Hair Pirates, and Cross Guild all partake in a Davy back fight.
That would
So
be awesome. I would like that.
I would like that.
I
The
think it's I
only
think it's unlikely.
Yeah, Shanks defends against the blast and dies. Luffy and Buggy witness Shanks' death firsthand.
Uh see see
Sam
see
just wants all
I
that
don't.
smoke
As it
for
is, yeah,
Blackbeard.
exactly. Yeah, I don't think Shanks dies. I think Shanks is defeated, but definitely not dead, because I think by the very end of the story, it's going to be Shanks and Makino raising their baby. I think it's definitely Shanks's child, etc., etc., and that like the moral almost by the end of the story is it's like, no, I'm not going out to sea anymore. I've had my adventures. Now I'm going to sit here and raise my son. And actually, finally, then we have a father in One Piece that is actually taking care of their child.
Whoa. Kuros is out here. Kuros is out here.
Is
He
it?
took care of his child even when he was a toy soldier.
Okay, fine. There's one, but I'm saying there's still very few.
Yeah, most definitely. It was actually really funny. Me and my wife were watching. We're watching it. She's watching it for the first time. I'm watching it for like the 70th. But we're in Dressrosa, and we were talking, and she was like, man, is there no good fathers in One Piece? And I was like, huh? And like literally she's watching it as the toy soldier is in the background, and I'm like, I don't
Oh,
know. I'm like, and then she finds out that he's actually the only best dad
yeah,
in One Piece, and I was like, yeah, like I couldn't say
bless.
anything, it was spoilers.
Oh, that's wonderful.
um but yeah, like I don't like the Davy back fight thing. I like it for Luffy.
Yeah, I would like to see it, but I don't think it fits in with where we are in the story at the moment. Everything's very serious, and a Davy back fight doesn't have that same punch to it as it does. Like even if it was a more serious Davy back fight, it would still give us Foxy vibes, which is obviously a very comedic arc.
Yeah. I think that the only time a Davy back fight would work, and so this is going to go into another theory of mine. So I think that there's a possibility that um Blackbeard tries to get status through the world government with using Garp. And Akainu basically is like, nah, you're not getting that through us. Like
Mm,
basically like we're not gonna go to bat for him. And so what happens is Blackbeard takes Garp to Cross Guild to collect the bounty because they still want the money. And they go there, and Luffy and the other Straw Hats find out about it through Vivi, because she's working with Big News Morgan, and she had the scoop on the prisoner transfer that was going to happen.
correct.
And Luffy shows up and challenges Blackbeard to a Davy back fight for Garp.
That would be interesting.
So that
Very
was one
interesting.
thing that I thought of, because I thought of that, or the Cross Guild actually pays up the bounty,
Yes.
and Blackbeard leaves, and Luffy shows up and challenges Buggy for Garp.
No, it would be fascinating.
I would
It's
love to see a Davy
this.
back fight between Cross Guild and the Straw Hats. That would be one thing that I would really love.
I think we'll probably get a Davy back fight after the story is finished, like when the celebrations are happening, etc. You know, big party. Emu's been defeated, Blackbeard's been defeated, etc., etc. Then we will get a Davy back fight between the Straw Hats and the Redhead Pirates, and that will be how we conclude the whole who's stronger by the Straw Hat Pirates winning the Davy back fight.
Mm, that would be interesting. And I think that that would be the only way that it would make sense, because I don't see Usopp versus Yasop. I see
No,
them having a
exactly.
contest of sniping skills, though.
Yes, exactly, but not a fight.
Yeah, and I don't see Ben Beckman, fighting Zoro or
No,
anything crazy. Like,
exactly, exactly. There's not going to be a fight that way. It's going to be done more comedic because they care about each other, etc. For example, you could never have a 100% rage-induced Luffy fighting Shanks. It would never happen.
yeah, the only way that would work is if we actually went down like the Shanks is a
Shanks is
villain.
evil.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah, yeah. I knew you
which
were going to say
I
that.
don't
Yeah.
truly subscribe to. I think that it
No,
would be
no. Oh, neither
interesting.
do I. I think there's a strong possibility that the silhouetted member of the Gods Knights might turn out to be a clone of Shanks, but that's as deep as I think it would go.
Yeah, I think that you're right on that. By the way, everyone who is in the chat, please like the stream, subscribe, do all the good stuff, follow, all that, and make sure that you are saying what you feel in that chat. I know Seb is sounding off. first ever PPV pirate fight. Get your special cross guild video transponder snail.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I no, I can. Seb, you're absolutely right. I can see Buggy doing that 100%. Selling tickets, have Big News Morgan there. Like doing as the MC, calling everything out as it goes on.
Yeah, I agree. He was basically the Kai Sinet of Marineford anyway, being a
Yep.
streamer. So it would make sense that he would do the same thing for this final fight. Um, but I think it would be absolutely great. I've seen so many things. I honestly wouldn't mind seeing a Davy back fight between Buggy's crew at the Straw Hats too, because I think that it would be really interesting. Obviously you get the Mihawk duel as one of the things, um, but on top of that, it would just be really cool to see Luffy put on like boxing gloves and box Buggy. Like that
Yep.
would be great. But another thing that I think that isn't talked about enough, and I've seen people draw it like online and stuff like that, just like having Crocodile like lighting up a cigar next to Sanji and then Sanji lighting up a cigarette and them just like looking at each other and being
Oh
like
no, even better, even better. You could have Crocodile hand a cigarette or a cigar to Sanji, just offer him
ooh,
one.
that'd be great. And then imagine he just says thanks, and then
Yep.
Crocodile just like realizes, oh my God, this is Mr. Prince, like the one who foiled all my plans. Yeah, like I would love that. I would, because I think that Sanji versus Crocodile would go so hard. Because Crocodile is like one of my favorite villains.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah. I actually,
Nice.
when I went to Anime NYC, I cosplayed as Crocodile.
Oh, that's awesome. I dressed as Law.
I've done Law before, and then so one day I was Crocodile, and my wife was Chopper, and then the next day I was um, Horizon, and she was Doflamingo.
Very
So
cool.
yeah, it was really great.
Yeah,
Maki
very nice.
Jiro said silhouetted man in the Manmare family member who commands the God's Knights. He wants to beat Shanks to prove Manmares are better than Fagarlands.
Possible.
Um,
Absolutely possible.
I definitely think that. I think that's very possible. I think that. I think he's probably going to get washed, but I think Shanks is the superior fighter.
Yes,
Definitely.
definitely.
I do want to see uh now Saint Fagarland versus Shanks. I would love to see a possible a lineage like with infighting within the family type thing. That would be really
If they're
cool
relate if they're related.
if
If
they're
they're
related.
related.
I'll definitely have to check out that theory you sent me.
Yes, yes.
Um, but back on topic, when it comes to the Loki thing, so a friend of mine sent me a theory, and it was very interesting. Um, he said that like I don't know how the timelines exactly work. Um, but imagine if Shanks, being the person that he is and having the connections that he had, what if the uh King Harold's father had the fruit probably before him, correct?
Right.
Like imagine if when they said that the fruit had fled the government for over 800 years, what if it just went to Elbaf? And since it's not a government affiliated land that they could track easily, they didn't realize that the giants had it. And it was being passed down from king to king,
Well, see, it's even
trying.
better than that. It's even better than that because we still have no idea how you actually get to Elbath. Like there was the fog that came, and then obviously we then cut away to the like Luffy and Zoro and that missing. But then once we're back, we never actually see them sail up to Elbaf. They're just there. So Elbaf could be protected the same way Thriller Bark was by the Florian Triangle. There could be some gimmick you have to do in order to get to Elbaf. Because it's so huge that it's like, how would you not notice it? You would see it from hundreds of miles away by ship.
Yeah, that's true. There's probably a good, almost like how Wano has their own type of basically a defense barrier to keep
Yeah,
people out. So I definitely think that's possible. But I mean, the government couldn't get to it, and it was actually just passed from king to king to king. But none of them ever actually did anything with it. They never
yes.
realized what they were doing with it. And then, right before King Harold got the fruit, is when there's a possibility that Shanks was traveling there. And right before King Harold got the fruit as his father passed, Shanks actually took the fruit and swapped it with a different fruit. And so King Harold took the fruit thinking everything was all good. Shanks actually took it, and but the fruit, of course, having a will of its own, tried to find its way somewhere else, and Shanks actually lost the fruit, and that's why he was so gung ho trying to get it back from CP9. And
Ah,
so he actually had a point of going after it. And so he ruined Who's Day and took the fruit and then and then Luffy found it, ate it, so on and so forth, because Shanks might have actually wanted it to eat it, but he didn't
this
know
is
if it was the true fruit or not
yeah. So,
because like when he died, you never know if it's going to reincarnate the way it's supposed to. Like we only
yeah.
got to ever see one fruit reincarnate that way, and we didn't even get to see like any of the other fruits that got passed on,
Well,
like
this is what I
Ace's
was about
fruit.
to say. If the fruit has been passed on by like from father to son, that means that the giants have some knowledge of how devil fruits reincarnate. They must have some, whether it's limited or not. They do have that knowledge, and there's several government like yeah affiliations that don't even have that knowledge yet.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically, if Shanks was able to intercept it in that way before King Harold took it, and then King Harold's reign was cut short because Loki killed him, and then took the fruit, it could be that they just think that they have the regular Nika fruit, but it isn't truly that fruit anymore because it was
Exactly.
taken. Now, we know that, giants live for a long time, but we don't know how young or how old King Harold was and how long his father lived before. So the ascension to the throne could have been a quick turnaround from when King Harold got the fruit and then Loki killed him to take the fruit. So it could have all happened within the span of the time that we've seen, from Shanks and those moments. Especially because Shanks is so close with Elbaf. And that could also it's very possible that Loki thinks he's the sun god because he thinks he ate the sun god fruit.
Yes. And
I
especially if I'm right about the transformation, like the shapeshifter fruit, because one of the things he would be able to shapeshift into is sun god Nika. So he would just assume that that is, well, I must be the sun god because I can become the sun god. And what would be perfect is if Luffy then, because remember, Luffy still doesn't know he has a Zoan fruit.
Yeah.
I would love to see Luffy figure out that by looking at Loki as Nika, he then figure out it's like, oh, I can do that, and then he transforms into his full Nika form, and we have two of them going head to head. These two, basically, again, like I told you earlier, like the genie from Aladdin, just both of them going head to head, pulling anything out of their ass, baseball bats and anything to fight each other, but the fight doesn't get them anywhere because they're not they're not lethal in that form. They're cartoons. They're there for comedy.
Yeah. I honestly would really enjoy that. I think it would add a little bit more depth, and it would add probably a little bit more fuel to people thinking that Shanks is evil. But
Yes.
it's also a good possibility that one of the things that Roger told him, in his last moments when he whispered to him was like, I didn't have the fruit I needed for the
Yeah,
One
that's
Piece or
yes.
anything
So
like
no,
that.
I think it's even worse. I think it'll be even worse. I think that at some point, the reason they laughed when they got there, they read the thing on. Let's say it's a giant poneglyph. They read it, and it talks about the fact that if you wish to continue further, you need the Nika fruit. And the reason they laughed is because, let's say, weeks or months before, they had the opportunity to get it, and because they didn't want devil fruits, they just left it.
Mm,
And that they're laughing ironically. They literally had it in their hands. Maybe even Roger was the one who found it. And it's like, oh, you're going to eat it, Captain? No, I don't want it. And that's it. And then obviously when they get there and find out, that's the caveat that is making them laugh.
yeah. I also had a thought about something that Seb said. He said Lola was in love with Shanks. Loki crashed out because she wanted Shanks over him.
I saw, yes, very good.
So it would be funny. Don't get me wrong. So I think that there's something a little bit more dastardly at play. I think that when it comes down to it, uh, Loki did want to be with Lola, but I think Lola told him the truth and was just like, "Hey, like I want to find love on my own." And he was upset with that, but he accepted it. What he might have happened to him is something similar to Sanji, where he found out that Big Mom was literally just conspiring with King Harold to basically make stronger giants through, you know, reading them and then using and she would have used them as tools of war outside
Yes.
of Warland and
Even even if even if you don't rate the giants in terms of their strength, their ships alone, the amount of cannons, the size of their ships would be just amazing in any navy. And
yeah,
Big Mom's crew, they seem to lack ships. Like they had a few that got easily destroyed by Carrot, and then they had Big Mom's, flagship. But they needed a much bigger navy than they had, and they could have got that from the giants.
yeah. And that would have been an incredible fighting force. And
Yes.
so Loki found out that Harold and Big Mom were planning this together. And while he knew that Lola didn't want to be with him and he came to terms with that, they were going to force the marriage anyway. And so he had to do something to stop it so that Lola could be free. And so what he did was he killed King Harold and called off the engagement. Um, and so he was considered a criminal and ended up being basically ostracized. Um, but Lola got to leave and be free. But Big Mom always thought it was her fault, that
Crazy.
he
I like
called
that.
off the
I
marriage.
like that a lot.
Um,
Very
which
nice.
it would make sense that that would be her takeaway from it because uh Loki would have called, King Harold or Loki after he killed him would have sent a message basically being like, "Hey, I don't want to marry you anymore or I don't want to this marriage won't work" or something like that from King Harold's perspective. She would have looked at Lola and been like, "You're the one who caused this."
Yeah, this is your
Um
fault. You messed this up.
yeah, you fumbled the bag, you know.
Yep.
Uh and so I mean if Loki is who I think he is, which I think that he will end up being good, I would like that a lot. And that would be such an interesting thing to have for him because he just wants Lola to be free from, you know, her mom's control. And so he sacrificed
We could
himself in
even
a
have
way.
we could even have a conversation with Nami talking about Lola, saying that how much Lola has like grown. She's better off now. She's happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I would honestly, I would really like that side of Loki's character. I love when a character seems like one thing but is something different, and they have
Yes.
motivations for all the things. And Oda's just really
Yeah,
good at doing that.
yes, it has to be driven by the plot, not just done for willy-nilly.
Yeah, agreed. But no, I really enjoy the Loki stuff. There's just so
It'll
much
be
to talk about when it
Yeah,
comes to that.
exactly. It'll be very interesting to see how Elbaf goes because obviously because it's been like talked about for so long, Elbaf is probably not going to live up to everyone's expectations just because it's been teased for so long. I don't really think there's much that could really happen on Elbath that would shatter like the expectations of everyone that's waiting at the moment. Again, Shanks being defeated by Blackbeard, that sort of thing, that would do it, but that would obviously happen right at the end of Elbath, which means the majority of it will probably be build up.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just hoping that we don't get like an egregious amount of time on Elbaf. I hope it's not another Wano. I hope we have
Uh,
like,
oh,
you know,
don't get me started. No, I can't deal with that. I just can't.
I want a lot of time in Elbaf, but I don't want an egregious amount of time.
Yeah, exactly. So, this is the
Miyagi
unfortunate thing. It's
asked,
like we could have been at the end of Elbath now, if not for half of Wano being pointless.
yeah. Miyagi asked, is Loki a D member?
Very interesting. So if that would mean that hopefully that would mean rather that would all of the of that family are D members, which I would quite enjoy. It's it will be interesting to see. I would very much like it if he was a D member, because I think that it would be best if by the end of Elbaf, Loki isn't a villain. He's just misunderstood in some way.
I agree with that. I think that Loki being a D would be very interesting. And then we could possibly finally get the name of like the full name of Hadrudin. Um,
Yeah,
and them being siblings. It would be really interesting to see them both be D clan members. And if they're the kings, there's a possibility that their origination came from the ancient kingdom, and they could have been part of the kings that lived in the ancient kingdom as well. So we could get a nice little bit of lore behind it if that is true.
yeah. I was just saying, you said if they're both D members, that would be interesting. I think it'd be more interesting if only one of them was a D. So again, they're two brothers, but only one of them was given the middle initial D.
That would be interesting, especially because Hadrudin's supposed to be the older brother.
Yes, he is the older brother. Yes.
So to give the younger brother the D would be very
Yeah.
out of sorts, I
Exactly,
feel like.
because we still need to learn really how the D initial is passed on. Some people seem to give it to themselves. Some people seem to get it via like just hereditary. It's interesting. I think that it'll be very cool to find out that remember with the sad bow and the
Yeah.
Sadi bow, like anyone can get it. It can be given to anyone. That would be interesting to see that actually in action.
Yeah, I agree. Just to actually see it would be very interesting. Honestly, I think it would be really cool if,
You,
um
you could
whenever
even
the
turn it into why. Sorry, you could even turn it into why Loki was the one, like why he went evil as such, because only his older brother was given the initial D and Loki wasn't. And he blames his father. That's why he took the devil fruit from his father because he blames him for not giving him the D initial.
that would be interesting. Also, Seb said to give the younger brother the D is a wild statement. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It
like
is.
that's what I'm saying. Give it to give it to the older brother, because then it was again. We know that Oda likes the Marvel movies. Again, the in the first Thor movie, the main like gripe between the two is the fact that only Thor is being groomed to be king and Loki isn't, even though Loki deems himself to be a better candidate because Thor is so reckless at that point in his life. So it would mirror that perfectly. So it's like,
So that
why are
brings
you
up a
choosing to
different
just
thing.
perform first?
So that brings up a different thought in my head then. It would be really interesting to find out that um that Loki and Hadrudin don't have the same mother. Um
Yes, that'd be cool as well.
because in some of the Marvel stuff with Loki, Loki was his mother wasn't his actual mother. In fact, his mom, well, his dad was still Odin, but his mom was a frost giant. And so
Right.
it would be really interesting, especially because we really never got any answers when it comes to the Yeti Cool brothers from Punk
Yep.
Hazard. And
That's what I was about to bring up.
they were basically frost giants. So to see
Yeah.
them on like the Niflheim of Elbaf would be wild because that's where the frost giants originate. And imagine that Loki is part frost giant, part actual regular giant.
Yeah.
Would be a really interesting thing. And that could be why he has such detest for Hadrudin and he had detest for his father as well, because he wasn't able to um he wasn't able to get the D moniker because he wasn't a full-blooded regular giant. And maybe there's even discrimination amongst different types of giants. You
Yep.
know, uh there's even like the scholarly type giants like Saul who called the people of Elbaf savages. So like, there's going to be a ton of stuff that we find out in the next upcoming chapters. Um but like seeing that would be very interesting. And it's possible that Loki wanted to unite all giants and his father wanted to keep the status quo, similar to how
Yes.
Odin did. And that's why he ended up trying to murder him and take that devil fruit to unite all of Elbaf. But then he was considered, a criminal and they did what they did to him. So
Yeah.
I think that would be super interesting.
I agree. 'Cause it would to have that sort of like divide between the two brothers, and it be again. Then we find out for sure that the D initial has to be given. It can't just be like you don't just get it because you're born into that family. It's a title that is chosen to be given, not automatic.
Yeah, and honestly, it would be really interesting to find out all of that stuff and then have Luffy when he gets all of his grand fleet together and imagine he gives all of his grand fleet captains the D
That's what
initial.
I was thinking. Yes.
And basically just being like Hadrudin D, whatever his last name is, um Sai D, I forget what their last name was. Chinjiao, right? Because that was their
Yeah,
grandpa.
Don
So
Chinjao. That's
yeah,
right.
so it would be Sai D Chinjiao, and like, there would be so many awesome moments for that. Um I would really enjoy that. I think that would be a really
As
cool
would I.
thing.
As would
Um
I.
but yeah, so that was a great, we kind of went off the rails a little bit, but still stay close. Yeah. Like we said, One Piece is a conversation. Conversation
It
never
is
flows.
exactly. It always drifts.
Yeah. So now I have my next theory is kind of a wild one. So
Go for it.
um back in Skypiea, we're introduced to four gods. You have the rain god, the forest god, the sun god, and the earth god. So we obviously know who the sun god is, but that
Yep.
still leaves three gods unaccounted for. But I think that there's a good possibility that there is a fifth god that we have not heard of, basically.
You're right. You're right. And I'm looking for the image of it.
So one of the reasons why I think that is because of the Fishman quadruplets, I believe they are. Um,
Yes.
so one of them says that they're Nika. One of them says they're Ichika. One of them says they're Sanka. And then one of them's Yanka. And then one of them's Yanka too. And they even make the joke. They're like, wait, why wouldn't that person just be Goka? And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. It's the naming scheme of things, Ichi, Ni, San,
Yep.
sort of like, Ichiji, Niji, Yanji, like all of them, but they never name the fifth thing. And so obviously five is go, so it would be Goka would be the next logical conclusion for the fifth god. But what if it's similar to how things were erased from the Void Century and the name of Goka was actually erased and they don't even recognize it?
I'm gonna send you another image, and this is I've been talking about like an unknown god or something in the Skypiea world for a long time, especially since now we know what the Skypians believe Nika, the sun god, looked like. So if
Yeah.
I send you this, wherever it is, there it is. So if you take a look at that, it's a multi-headed snake versus the sun god.
Okay. I see it.
that mul that multi-headed snake will turn out to be Blackbeard in the end.
Okay. So
And
I see we're kind of on the same page then. So um so I agree, and I wasn't quite sure about what they would look like. That makes sense. Um, that it would be a multi-headed snake. It kind of you know is a good representation of it. Now, do I know what that god will be a god of? I would say probably Moon would be my best guess. But I'm not confident in that. Um, but the other gods, I feel like we can't. I'm not 100% certain on this, but I think that in the end, I think that the forest god is going to be Chopper.
interesting.
So the reason I believe that is he's the only Hito no Mi without a model.
Yes.
And what's really interesting is Blackbeard went to Drum Island to find something. We don't know what. But
Yep.
my thoughts are I think that he was searching for Chopper's fruit. I don't know
Really.
how he knows where these things are. He has that type of knowledge.
He
He
does,
has,
yes. I was about to say. So, as far as characters go at the moment, the character with the most devil fruit knowledge is Blackbeard, even more than
yes,
Vegapunk. Because when Vegapunk was questioned about the Gum Gum fruit, he didn't immediately know. He had to check the library. He had to physically go and check the devil fruit encyclopedia and then say, no, it doesn't exist. Whereas Blackbeard seems to know these things on sight.
yes. And what's really interesting about Chopper's Devil Fruit is again, it's the only Hito no Mi that doesn't have a model. We have model Buddha, we have Sun God Nika, we have the one that's like from Wano, the monk one. Um,
Yep.
And so his is literally the only one that doesn't have an actual model. But I think it's because we never got the model similar to Luffy's. You know, we never figured that out. We just figured it was a human fruit. But
Yep.
the type of things that Chopper can do and the way he's driven almost similarly like Luffy is. Like Luffy embodies freedom. That's part of his devil fruit. That devil fruit guided itself towards the person who needs who strived for the most freedom. Like the devil fruit often matches the user very well.
Yes.
Chopper's devil fruit matches Chopper so incredibly well because what does Chopper want to do? Chopper wants to heal all diseases. And I think that his devil fruit will give him that ability once he awakens it and becomes the forest god. So there's
See,
a lot. What was that?
my theory is pretty much identical to yours. Only he's not a forest god. He is basically he has an angel fruit. Like let's say what's one of the model Gabriel, or I think the one of healing is model Raphael, because we kind of know some of the 1v1s in what's going to be like the Blackbeard Pirates versus the Straw Hats. And Doc Q has stronger, so therefore Doc Q can fly. Doc Q, if he wanted to, could just stay out of Chopper's range until his monster point wears off, like throw diseases down, etc., make everyone else sick. Chopper needs an ability to be able to fly. And I would love it if during that awakening he gets wings, etc., and literally has like again like an angel, and he can now fly. And his mythical ability would be to heal. So now he can go around the battlefield healing all the people that Doc Q made sick, all the straw hats that are fighting like Nami, Usopp. He can heal them up.
That's interesting that you say that. So, um, there is a god in mythology called it's the Celtic god of nature, animals, and fertility. Um, they are known as Cernunnos. Um, and so I have it pulled up here. Um, and so they are a deer god that looks like it's basically a human that has antlers. And
Wow.
so their whole thing is it's a god depicted with antlers, seated cross-legged and associated with stags, horned serpents, dogs, and
Hmm.
bulls.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. And what is Chopper known? He's one has a human form. He thinks he's a
Yeah.
human, but on top of that, it like all of the depictions of Cernunnos are him communing with other animals like uh in the forest.
That's
And
fantastic.
so another thing
Well
that it can
found.
do,
Very well found.
thank you. Another thing that it can do is control flora and fauna, and it's often used in ways to heal the injured animals in the forest.
Well, that's Chopper actually says it when we get the when we're during the like time skip when Chopper's on that island. He talks about that you can always find things in nature to cure disease.
Exactly. So to me, it would make all the sense in the world if this was the forest god and Chopper was that the fruit was actually the forest god fruit and
I
this
like
was
it.
Chopper's awakening and having the ability
Does
to
it does it
control
have
the forest.
does any of the depictions have wings? Do any of the depictions your thing have wings at all? Because
So
that would wrap it up in a bow.
they do not, but
Damn.
I don't think that it's like completely lost on the fact that I think that being able to control the forest, they could cut off Doc Q's ability to fly through easier,
That's true.
you know. And there's always like, I mean, Robin is able to, manifest wings out of hands. I wouldn't see why Chopper couldn't manifest wings out of like, trees or
Trees. Yeah,
branches.
yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
But it would also be really awesome because as he's basically fighting Doc Q and Doc Q's making him sicker, he could be healing himself and making himself basically heal like perfect again.
And the other Straw Hats. I think so. Apart from the top three, so Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, I think the rest of the Straw Hats versus Blackbeard Pirates is going to be more of a battle royale. Instead of it being strict 1v1s, we're going to see Blackbeard Pirates gang up on weaker members, try and take them out, one at a time. And that Chopper will almost be like a white mage if you're used to playing your final, like your RPGs, like Final Fantasies and stuff.
Yeah.
Chopper will be going around the battlefield, healing people up as the fight goes on.
Yeah. Honestly, it would also be really interesting because, like, we associate the awakenings with the cloak that they have, and seeing
Yes,
Choppers once he awakens, seeing it be like a flowery wreath almost instead of like a cloud, like Luffy's and stuff like that, I think would be a really cool design choice.
that'd be awesome.
Um,
I really like that.
so I really think that it would work, and I think that it's possible that that's what's going to happen. Another thing, just to put the little icing on the cake, is every devil fruit we've seen essentially looks like a fruit. Choppers
Yes,
is the
Chopper's
only
looks like a
one
mushroom.
that looks like a fungi.
Yeah,
And where do
it's
fungi
weird.
grow? A forest. Like most of the time, that's where, mushrooms and sort of things like that go and grow. And so, like, to have it be the forest god would make sense. Have Blackbeard come to Drum Island trying to find it and basically, um, I think that it would make sense that that would be Chopper's next form. And it could finally, him awakening is the actual same thing as him actually accomplishing his dream.
Yeah, I love it.
Because then he could actually cure all diseases.
Yeah,
And then we would be like, wow, like I think it is definitely like an end game sort of awakening that he
absolutely.
would
Yes.
get.
Right near the end of the story.
Exactly. And that would be the perfect thing for him to get. Be able to go against, Doc Q on like an even playing ground, but also be able to, accomplish his dream. And so I think that that is why Chopper's fruit isn't just a Hito no Mi model human. It's so much different.
Yeah,
And I
it needs
agree
to
with
be.
all of Broker's takes in the chat as well. Garp definitely Aokiji 100%. So, but yeah, so he definitely needs a power up, and I think that this is it. And I think that there's a good
Well, all of the Straw Hats
poss.
need a power up, really.
Yeah.
This is why, going into one of my more, again, controversial theories, I think there's going to be another time skip. I really do.
Ooh,
I'm
really?
convinced of it, 100% convinced of it. Because think about it, right? So by the end of the story, like when it comes to like Straw Hats versus the Blackbeard Pirates, every Straw Hat is going to need to at least, bare minimum, know how to use armament and observation haki. Just the bare minimum version, not like a Rio or anything like that. They're going to need the bare minimum, correct?
I don't think so.
So no, well, the reason I say is because the Straw Hats, but when like everyone's defeated, the Straw Hats are meant to be the best pirate crew there's ever been. That's what Luffy wants. He's like, he's give have the best crew, everything. You can't really have a best crew if half your crew don't know how to use basic armament.
I I agree with that to an extent. I
Especially,
think that
especially to fight the Blackbeard pirates, though. Like some of them, how are you going to fight them if you can't use armament haki?
so I think that's all about like and I feel like I've talked about this a lot in DDTs. I feel like matchups really matter when it comes to that. Like there are workarounds to using hockey. Like me personally, so I think like Frankie's power up probably this like during Elbaf is he's going to upgrade the Sunny with even more of the Atom Wood and he's
Yeah.
going to change it in a way that it makes it almost like a Megazord. Like the Sunny
No, yeah.
and
Oh, yes, I've said this that's what's going to fight Pluton. I actually have the image.
yeah, so I am 100% in believing that
Yeah,
that is his
yeah.
upgrade,
Same here.
but I don't think that it involves him using hockey. I think for some reason the Atom Wood, there's a possibility, and this is just my speculation, is there's so much fighting that happens on Warland that hockey, the reason why that wood is so strong is because hockey leaks onto that wood and stays similar to the knot in Emmet, and also
Yep,
similar to how the poneglyphs are made. Um like the hockey makes it automatically harden, basically.
yep.
And so when Frankie fights, I don't think he's going to need armament hockey. I think hockey's technically going to be present in the wood that he's using to fight, but I don't think
Okay,
it
so
means that
fine, but
he's going to
okay,
use it.
fine. Forget Frankie then. But people like Robin, people like Chopper, especially Usopp. Like, I think that the what Usopp's like final thing is going to be that Usopp unlocks Future Sight, and that's how he's then able to dodge the bullets that will be coming at him from like the warp abilities. Like, the only way to dodge those bullets is to know where they're coming from beforehand. So
I
the reason I say this then leads into a time skip is because we know from several sources, mostly Rayleigh, that it takes months and years to learn how to use the basics, just the basics of armament and observation. So if a character like Usopp or Nami or Robin, if they learn to use it in just like a couple of months or a few weeks, I would call bullshit on it. I wouldn't believe it. Just as a reader, I wouldn't believe it. It's like you have to remember the monster trio. They are prodigies. They are completely unique at how they learn to fight, how they get stronger. Normal people don't have that luxury. That's why when Kobe uses haki at Marineford, they talk about the fact that the reason it's only used by captains and above is because it takes years to learn.
so I agree with you on that front. I don't think that they are super far from using it. I think that some of them are using it without even knowing they're using it. Like we got to see Usopp basically use like a really good observation
Oh yeah,
feat
but
on
no, yeah,
Dressrosa. You
yes,
know,
but Rayleigh explains this. Rayleigh explains. He says Haki blooms in these situations, but all you've done there is unlock it. After that, you have to train it and you have to be taught. Someone has to teach you. I would love it instead of them all the straw hats being separated in a time skip. Instead, keep them all together. We could have like silly little cover stories or flashbacks where Sanji is training Nami and Robin, and their training gear is like revealing, and he has a nosebleed from that. Those sort of things.
yeah,
Like
I
it's like
how
like
long do you think
shot.
this time skip goes for?
So purely because like we know how much stronger people can get in 2 years. I wouldn't mind it being another 2 years. I
Ooh.
really wouldn't. Purely because that way, as readers, we know how much stronger the Straw Hats can get in that time frame, and we know how they can learn Haki and they can learn all these observation skills, etc. So I think it would be perfect if another time skip happens right before they're about to fight Blackbeard and right before the world government is about to, like, let's say, go completely nuclear and just try and flood everyone. Just before this final war happens, another 2 years, and during that 2 year time skip as well, I want Zoro to train with Mihawk again, but that we don't know how it went. So it's that side of things is completely separate. Like every now and again, like once a week, Zoro will sneak off away from the Straw Hats and go somewhere mysterious, and they don't know where he's going, and that he's secretly just on his own training with Mihawk one on one.
That's very interesting. I think I would like it. I wonder how that could be maintained because I feel like right now we're in like such a like rush state I feel like, you know,
I,
like we
I, I
went,
have I have an answer. I have an answer. It's not
oh,
particularly it's not great, but I've got an answer to it. How I
okay.
think it's going to go is Blackbeard is going to get his hands on the final poneglyph.
Oh,
But Blackbeard being Blackbeard, he's not going to make a rubbing. He's going to physically pick it up and take it with him so that no one else can follow. He's going to have it all to himself. I don't know if you know the very first theory I ever phoned in with on the that One Piece talk. It's about the third devil fruit that Blackbeard's going to get, and it's going to be Boa Hancock's fruit. But
mm,
instead of him getting and killing Boa, he's going to get it from York. And when Aokiji finally like shows his true colors, whether he's working for the Revs or for Sword or for whoever else, York will replace Aokiji as the 10th Titanic captain, and York will then be a battle for Frankie, which means by the end of the story, Frankie's dream will be to surpass
Vegapunk.
Vegapunk in terms of his knowledge, and technically he will because he'll be surpassing a Vegapunk. He'll be surpassing York,
That's so
and
interesting.
so the reason is because if Blackbeard was to remember the very first thing we see Blackbeard do in the after the time skip in the New World is go after Boa. He says, "Look, we need to go after it first, right after the warlords are abolished." And everyone thought he was talking about the One Piece or he was talking about the ancient weapons, but he wasn't. He was talking about Boa. He went there, attacked, turned them all to stone. Boa turned them all to stone, and Blackbeard had her by the neck. That's when she explains, "Look, only I can turn your people back. If you kill me, you can't do it." And Blackbeard still didn't care. He was willing to sacrifice two of his 10 Titanic captains just for the chance, not even a guarantee, just for the chance of getting Boa's fruit. Two of them, two of his Titanic captains, he just didn't care about anymore. That fruit was more important to him than both of them. And the reason is that if you were to be Blackbeard, and let's say he gets his dream and he's king of the world, eventually he's going to have to worry about the same thing Emu worries about revolution. Now, you can control a lot of things in the One Piece world, but you can't control devil fruits. If you have a really strong fighter, let's say they're amazingly powerful in Haki, they're just really strong, and they eat a strong devil fruit, they could potentially be a threat to Blackbeard one day.
I remember
So,
this
so
theory now.
yeah, as I say, so what's the best scenario? You just turn the person to stone. And that devil fruit is now permanently off the table. It will never reincarnate and it will never be a threat to you. It's
Yeah.
your, I say, you can even turn the fruits themselves to stone if you want, if you do have no use for them. And if Blackbeard really wanted, by the end, he could turn his entire crew to stone and be the only devil fruit user in the entire world. I think what Blackbeard is going to do, he's going to, again, York will team up with Blackbeard because remember, York wants to be a celestial dragon. If Blackbeard becomes the king of the world, technically his crew will be celestial dragons. That they'll have that rank just by proxy, by what they are. Blackbeard will be the new emu, and then they will be celestial dragons. So York knows which way her bread is buttered. She's going to go for him because he has the best chance of doing it. So now York will give Blackbeard that third devil fruit that he wanted so badly via green blood. And then
Hmm.
when the Blackbeard pirates do defeat the redhead pirates, instead of killing them, he'll just turn them all to stone, just to mock them, just have them as statues for pigeons to shit on, and just leave them there. It's like again because Boa said only you can turn them back, and he's never going to turn them back. So now that's all the redhead pirates gone. Then Luffy, I think, will find this out, probably via the news coups and stuff like that. And the very first thing Luffy will do is beg Boa, hands like he did last time. He's like, please, please turn them back. Boa's now in tears. Luffy, I'm so sorry, I can't. Only Blackbeard can turn them back. But now Luffy has got his hands tied. Luffy can't fight Blackbeard and go all out because he might kill him. And then if he kills him, that's it. It's game over for Shanks. So he has to
Yeah.
be careful now. So Luffy fighting Blackbeard is now it's a more dubious prospect than it could have been. And I think what will happen, like I said, Blackbeard will find the third poneglyph, sorry, the last road poneglyph, take it with him, and Luffy will now. It's like, look, I know I said I wanted my own adventure, but Rayleigh, you need to tell me where Laugh Tale is. I need to go after Blackbeard. and that Luffy will then, as we know he would, like for any of his crew, for any of the people he cares about, Luffy will give up trying to be Pirate King if it meant that he could save one of his friends' lives. If it meant he could save Shanks's life, he just doesn't care. He'll go, yeah, fine. The same way he immediately said it was, he didn't need a boat anymore to Boa when he said, "Oh, turn them back from stone, or you can have a boat and leave." And that was for people he barely knew.
Yeah,
That
that's
then that's
true.
how it will go. And the way I think it will go is that Rayleigh will say, "Look, we can go after him, but there's no point in going yet because Blackbeard has the map, but he can't get there." And the big like twist will be the big mystery is that Laughtail itself is an island that moves. So ever
Mm.
since ever since they said there were four road poneglyphs, right? It's again, I used to be an Eagle Scout, so I just know this pointless information. But the only reason you need four quadrants on a map is for a target that moves. If you have three, you can move anywhere on a board. You can move those 3 points. You can triangulate where the term comes from, and you can find any object, any place on a map. A fourth quadrant is only used if the thing you're looking for can move along those different lines. I think that it's basically an island on the back of a giant sea king, and every now and again it comes up for air, like a giant tortoise or something like that. So it comes up, and that's the only time you can get to Laughtail. So
It would
Blackbeard can get there.
make
He knows the
sense
way.
why it would make sense why Rayleigh became a shipcoder.
Exactly, because you need to be underwater to get to certain parts. He knew
Mm.
already. He's been there. So that would be it, and it would be again just a race to see who can get there first. Now that Rayleigh is leading the Straw Hats the way there, but Rayleigh will say, "Look, we have plenty of time. You guys need to get stronger. The Blackbeard pirates are not going to be sitting still. They're going to be training as well. So should you." And like I said, I would love little comedy parts with like I said, Sanji training the girls and that sort of thing. We could have like Zoro, bless him, training Chopper because we know they have like a special relationship, like little brothers and stuff like that. That would
Yeah.
be great. Just these sort of things all included because we never really got much from the flashbacks of the Straw Hats during their 2 year time skip. It was all just rushed over. But I would
Yeah.
love to just see, even if they did it in cover pages, I wouldn't mind. But just little snaps every now and again of how they trained and how they got stronger. That would be perfect. And then you can finally have the Straw Hats at their absolute best versus the Blackbeard Pirates at their absolute best.
I mean, I like it. I do feel like is the possibility. I guess everything just feels so like we're in the end,
Yeah.
the final saga. And so to me, that feels like, well, how can we have a time skip if we're in the final saga?
Well,
That,
so it would be the same as Fairy Tale. I don't know if you watched or read Fairy Tale. Fairy Tale had the same thing. It had two separate time skips. One was obviously longer than the other, but it was just separated. Same with Dragon Ball as well. Dragon Ball has had plenty of time skips, especially with Super now and stuff like that.
yeah.
But it does happen in Shonen. It's not exclusive to different things.
Yeah, I guess like the time skip for Fairy Tale and the time skips in Dragon Ball are all
Yep.
the different just because like the one in Fairy Tale was like they got sealed away and it was for, however many years.
Yeah.
Uh and then Dragon Ball there hasn't been too many huge time skips. They've just done a lot of like hyperbolic time chamber training where they're like, I go in here for a day and it's actually a year. Um, so that type of stuff. I guess the only way that just because of how I don't know, and maybe this is my bias of me just putting an
That's fine.
association to this, but it feels like okay, so Shanks is going after the One Piece, Blackbeard's going after the One Piece, um, and even Buggy is now going after the One Piece. And it feels like everything is getting turned up with
So I have an
like the
answer to
world
that too.
government and everything else, and like the raising of the sea level, and
Yep.
everything feels like it's kind of like reaching that boiling point, and for
Yeah,
it to
coming to a
go on like,
crescendo.
yeah, go if so for it to go on like a 2 year, time skip, it feels like that that feels like this maybe is not the time for a time skip.
So
Everything just needs to go crazy right now.
So the way I think it will happen is that everyone will learn about the flooding, but Blackbeard will have access to Pluton at this point, and with no Yonko left, there's no one really. Like I said, it's just Luffy and Blackbeard now. I think Blackbeard will go on an absolute killing spree using Pluton in order to try and force the government to surrender. He'll attack government buildings, etc., just one at a time using, because remember, Pluton has the power to destroy an island in a single shot. I think that when Blackbeard first gets Pluton, he'll get it from Wano, but we'll find out that you need to power it using the Mother Flame. And that he doesn't,
Mm.
Blackbeard won't have any. He'll still have access to, like, it will still be a huge giant ship. I think it will be something similar to like a modern day aircraft carrier or something like that. Like, it'll be very futuristic. So he'll have access to that, and he'll have access to like the smaller weapons, but the big main weapon he won't have access to. But it will still give him a huge advantage on the oceans. So now Blackbeard will go back to Egghead in order to try and locate the Mother Flame, and that's when York will ask to join Blackbeard. And then we could get that the kind of thing with a lot of people have been thinking where Aokiji will now use his ice powers in order to try and sink Pluton. He will try and be that iceberg that like sank the Titanic. And that Blackbeard will be like, I knew you were going to betray me eventually. I've been waiting for this. And then just like Aokiji's taken out. I don't think he dies, but he's definitely taken out. So now
Hmm.
there's no one to stop Blackbeard, and literally he's just now threatening the government every day. He could even say, "Look, every day you don't surrender Joie to me and my crew, I will destroy an island." And it just becomes basically almost like apocalyptic, and that the Straw Hats are off again. Perfect would be for them to hide on Elbath, where we know it's difficult to get to. Like there must be some element to it that makes it so that not everyone can see it.
Yeah.
and they
I
and they
I
they're hiding just to train because they know they need to.
Yeah, it would just suck because then I'm like, okay, so then what happens to Cross Guild? What happens to the Revs? Like the Revs would probably be the like main force, that and
Yeah,
the
so
Marines and
I
world
think I
government.
think they join forces. I think the Revs and Cross Guild will join forces. So will Sword, and that they will basically be an alliance that is trying to stop Blackbeard as much as they can, and that we find out that they are actually buying time for the Straw Hats,
That would be interesting.
especially with Mihawk, because Mihawk would definitely do it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting proposition. I'm not sold on it yet, but I'm starting to come on board. Um, but yeah, I like the time skip thing. I think that some of the Straw Hats definitely need it. I think everyone kind of needs a
Yeah,
power up again. I've always
yeah.
been very partial to the hope, and this was a theory I had. I want to say probably in Wano. Um, is Big Mom gets beaten Wano, and she ends up going from Wano to Elbaf, and Luffy and her finally fight.
Oh, I thought you were going to say she's lost her memory again. That's my take.
Oh, you think so?
So I think that both Big Mom and Kaido are still alive, but they have been severely, severely weakened. I think Big Mom has lost a leg, which is then a callback to her threatening to take Jinbei's leg off if he wanted to leave. With the remember the spin thing where you spin and choose so that you lose.
Yeah.
So and I Kaido as well. I think Kaido's probably lost an arm. Like so but they've both been severely weakened. They are nowhere near what they were on Roof Peace. But the reason that when they got knocked down into the lava, the reason they didn't come up is because we find out that um, sea prism stone, which can only be made on Wano, is actually made from the molten magma that comes from Wano's volcano, in the same way that in the real world, how obsidian is made.
Yeah.
And that they basically got caught in molten sea prism stone, so they were stuck. I would love to see like a cover story of Yamato, and she's there, and she is basically just feeding her father rice and telling him about what Luffy's up to. Because at that point, now Kaido will be 100% convinced that Luffy is Joy Boy, so he'll want to know everything, and it will then be like almost like a callback to where Yamato was in the same situation. She was in a prison, and she just got fed one bowl of rice a day. And I think that when Blackbeard comes to destroy Wano and break it open in order to get Pluton, they will be set free, and that then by the end they will also become part of Luffy's grand fleet. Again, they'll be nowhere near as strong as they used to be, but they'll be strong enough to take down like some ships and some fodder and stuff like that. I think the end war, the final war, will be including everyone. Everyone will be involved, no matter how minuscule their appearance was in the series. They will be on one side or the other, Luffy's or Blackbeard's, and that will be the line. So by the final war, it'll be Luffy versus Blackbeard, Sword versus the Navy, and the Revs versus the Celestial Dragons. All of those four wars all happening at the same time.
Hmm. That'd be interesting. So what I thought was, I think Big Mom might get out, and it might even be similar to what you're saying. And I really like that because I had a similar thought that they get out. I think they're both still alive.
Good.
Hmm. But I think that Big Mom goes to Elbaf because she knows that's where the Straw Hats are headed, and she wants her get back.
I thought they would go. I thought she would go there as almost like a homing beacon. Like, I think that she's lost her memory and she thinks she's like a child again. So her last memories are of being on Elbaf with Mother Caramel, and that's why she goes there. Because you could then
Which
have you could then, when Pudding is finally set free, you could then have Pudding give Big Mom her memories back, but edited so that she thinks that Luffy's like the best thing ever, like she's an ally of Straw Hat Luffy.
I would agree with that, but so my thoughts are she goes to Elbaf and she's actually the villain of the Elbaf arc.
Oh,
And
okay,
Luffy actually finally gets his 1v1 against her
nice.
and beats her.
Yeah,
But
I'm fine with that.
and the reason I say that is because Luffy foreshadowed that himself. When he
Yes,
calls
that's
her
a very good point.
on Fishman Island, he
Yeah,
said he's coming to the new world, and she said, "I'm waiting for you." And he's like, "I'm coming, and I'm gonna kick your ass all over the
yeah.
new world."
I'd forgotten about that. And well, you could actually combine both our theories again. So Luffy defeats Big Mom, and then Pudding erases her memory of it.
Yeah, and so the reason being is he weakens her to the point, and he's finally like, basically gets her to stop attacking, and beats her. And when she's on her like, final leg, um one of the gods knights comes and kills her.
Oh
And
wow, you think she dies there? Oh, crazy.
I do. And the reason I think that, and maybe this is just me and my agenda piece, but I think since the giants know how devil fruits reincarnate, they get her
Hmm.
fruit to reincarnate and give it to Nami.
Oh, you want Nai to have the soul fruit?
I do, because I think
Oh,
that
see,
she
I
fits the bill the
oh
best with that
definitely.
power.
The problem is though, is that Nami would never take other people's souls, which is a huge part of the soul fruit. The main way it works is by stealing soul energy. I don't think Nami would ever have the lack of compassion to steal a soul.
I think that she'll figure it out. I think that she would just use it in the capacity of um like basically putting a little bit of herself into Zeus and then also making a Prometheus, and that way she could literally control the weather with both sides of her staff. She could
Yes.
use
Yep.
one side be Zeus and one side be Prometheus, so she can use lightning and fire,
Yeah. Yep.
and that would
Again,
be
I love the idea of it. Absolutely. I've always been part of the the group that's like, oh, eventually she will eat one of the tangerines, and that will turn out to be Monet's devil fruit. That one. Again, very, very, very common theory. It's been around forever. I would very much like that because again, if you control snow, you can control lots of weather factors. You can change barometric pressure with the cold, all that sort of stuff. And it would also, again, Nami now being a Logia, it would give her a lot better chances to defend herself, especially
so
as I think she'll go against Katarina Devon, who's
so
clearly bloodthirsty.
yeah, I always had the a different Logia in mind. I always had the thought that she would get a Nels.
Oh, really? Oh, very interesting. See, I think Anel comes back to the story. Have you heard my Anel theory on what happens when Anel comes back?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, yeah, just a glorified battery that's powering something.
Yeah, so I had it's crazy you say that because I had the almost the exact same theory.
Really?
Um
Oh, that's great.
but this was before the Mother Flame was
Yeah, same
discovered.
here. Yeah.
And so I thought that what happened was he went to the moon, read all of the stuff that we see in the cover story, and realized that the Arc Maxim wasn't harnessing his power to its fullest ability. And
Ah.
so he went to Marie Joie to challenge what he heard was real gods because they think themselves that. And
Yep.
he was actually um he went and attacked the Gorsei and got beat so bad,
Yep. Bad
and
move.
they put him as the battery for Uranus because they had no way to power it otherwise. So
Yeah.
they had
That,
to use someone who was an
yep.
electric
That's
Logia.
exactly what I thought. Exactly what I thought. It's going to be something like that, and they're just going to that'll be it. They're just done.
Yeah.
Which again, I think would be a great sort of like folly for Anel, who thought himself a god, who is now being used by people who think themselves gods.
Yeah, and the thing that I had was he obviously wouldn't like choose to be the battery or anything like that,
Of
but
course not.
I think so I think of hockey like a skill tree, and I think that certain branches overlap in the categories of like armament, conquerors,
Yep,
observation, and stuff like that.
agreed.
And I think the furthest extent of those powers all have a certain thing. I think that when it comes to observation, it's like the voice of all things. And I
Oh,
think
okay.
that the furthest extent of armament is the breath of all things. Which is
Interesting.
which is super interesting, and I know that it may be a controversial take, but I think that Zorro learned hockey before it was actually ever represented. Like I think he used it against Mr. One. Like
I've been saying similar things to this for a long time. So if it turns out that's right, then it means Zoro is using it long before Luffy was.
yes. And so I think that in that moment um where he cut Mr. One, he even said, when he was cutting at the leaves and he didn't cut them, and he was talking about there's a breath of all things.
Yep.
Um, I think that there's a furthest extent to conquerors, but I think it branches into two things. One of them is the ability to impose your will into someone else. And then there's the inverse of that, which is the ability to basically contradict that and make sure that your will supersedes
Interesting.
that. And so
Interesting.
I call it the command of all things. And I think that
I like that.
Emu
That's very good.
I think Emu has that ability, and I think that this was my original theory on why God Valley was so crazy was because I thought Emu was there using the command of all things to
Ah,
control Roger and Garp to fight rocks. And
interesting.
that's the whole
That's
reason why
very
Garp
interesting.
never wanted credit for it and Roger never talked about it. Um,
There you go. That's
and
very cool.
Rocks similarly had the inverse ability of that, so he couldn't be controlled. Um,
That's
so
fascinating.
yeah, so the command of all things was used on Enel, and Enel's will was broken and used as that battery. And
Yeah.
that's why I thought it would be really cool if eventually they find Uranus, they get into it, and they find Enel there, and Enel just begs to be killed
Yeah, as you
because
say, yeah, kill me. Yeah.
yeah, because he was just like it was to the point where he was just like I was subjugated. I was treated as a slave. And he's like,
Yeah.
I was a god and I was treated like nothing more than a fly. Like, I don't want to live in this world anymore. And
Yeah.
that would
No,
have been how Nami
that's
eventually got
really,
his
really
power.
good. No, that's really, really good. I really
I
like that.
still think that Emu
You're,
has
you're
that power
convincing me.
though.
You're convincing me. You're convincing me.
I'm telling you, there's so many things. Like when Emu was in the throne room and Sabo attacked, it was like
Yes.
the Gorosei transformed upon
Yeah.
Emu's will. Like almost as if she or he forced them to transform in that moment.
Again, our theories are very similar. Do you know my emu theory?
Which one? I feel like we've talked.
I,
I've heard you talk
Yeah,
about a
so
few.
basically, Emu has the Lucifer devil fruit. He has the devil fruit of the devil. So the demon fruit model Lucifer, and the mythical ability of that fruit is the ability to make unbreakable deals. So once
Yes,
you
I
agree to
remember
this,
this.
yeah, once you agree to this, there's nothing you can do, and if you break the deal, you die immediately. And that what Emu does is he makes these deals when people get to the rank of admiral. So once you're an admiral, you make the deal, and that's it. It's unbreakable. You can never go against the navy. You can never do anything to harm them or anything like that. You must protect the celestial dragons at your own life's risk. Everything, all these things, and like you just whether it's a signing something or whether it's a handshake, whatever. We just and the person doing it doesn't even know who it is. For all they care, it's oh just some guy writing a contract. So they sign it and it's done. That's it. It's unbreakable. So when I think that something happened. I think that at some point in the past, Dragon was a Marine. And he was a Marine because he's a similar age to all of the original three admirals. I think they were all vice admirals at the same time, but Dragon was going to be promoted first and he was going to be promoted at the youngest. That he was going to be the youngest ever admiral. The Marines were going to make a huge deal about it. He's the son of Garp the hero, only 19 years old, and at that point in his life, Dragon was really rebelling against his father because he was worried that the only reason he was being chosen for these things is because of nepotism, because he's the son of Garp the hero. So he completely ignores his father. Garp begs him, no, do not become an admiral. Stay a vice admiral, please. I can't tell you why, but please do it. Just ignores him, becomes an admiral, makes the deal, and then the very first mission he is sent on is God Valley. And he is there at God Valley as an escort, as a guard for the Celestial Dragons. And he sees it all. He sees all the horrible, horrible things they did. But one shining light is that he falls in love with one Celestial Dragon woman. They have a secret affair, they have a child, and then this, like Emu, whoever, they all find out. And the agreement is look, we will allow your child to go if Garp, you make the deal that you will never leave the Navy, you will never betray us. So now Garp has made that deal. So when Garp was about to attack Akainu on at Marineford, the reason Sengoku stopped him is because if Garp would have laid a finger on Akainu, the contract would be broken and he would die. So Sengoku was literally saving Garp's life.
Mm.
It would then explain why characters like Garp, like Sengoku, like Tsuru, these good people stay working for slaveholders, these horrible people, because they have no choice. They are bound by this contract. And that after the events of Marineford, now I'm sorry, Aokiji and Akainu, they know that they need to get someone on the inside of Blackbeard's crew because he's the first ever person to have two devil fruits. They are both blindingly strong. He knows all of Blackbeard's territory. It's going to rock the world. We need to do this. So they found a loophole to the contract. Basically, Akainu fired Aokiji. He's like, no, that's it. You're fired. You're gone. And because he was fired and dismissed, he now can technically do whatever he wants against the Marines because the loophole in the contract is broken. He's not a Marine anymore. And that's how he's able to fight Garp, etc., etc. And it's why he's able to join Blackbeard's crew. Because if Akainu would have done it, nobody would have believed that Akainu wants to become a pirate. No one.
Yeah.
But they might believe Aokiji would.
Yeah. So I like it. I like the Lucifer part. The contracts I like, but I almost would rather it be similar to the command of all things. Like you are given these directives and only certain people can disobey.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that would be
you could literally do it just as a handshake, like you've agreed to this, and once you shake their hand, like the command, as you call it, is given.
yeah, and that would be super interesting that, Dragon fell in love with the celestial dragon,
Yep.
but after
It
becoming
would
an
it would
admiral.
also it would yeah, it would also explain why Dragon himself never goes on these missions because he can't. Dragon is still bound by the contract. He cannot attack the Navy in any way. That's why Dragon never goes on these missions because he's still bound by that same contract. But he's trying to, the loophole he found is that he gets other people to fight in his name.
That would be interesting. Um, I think it would also be just as interesting if he was the first person outside of the original Nika to show that he's able to break that contract with his hockey. Almost
Ah,
like I said, the
see,
inverse.
I don't want the contract to be breakable at all. I want there to be loopholes. See, like in fiction and stuff, I like it sounds weird, but I like rules. Like if you're in the water with a devil fruit, you sink. That's a rule. You can only eat one devil fruit. That's a rule. All these sort of things, they're important because the second you're able to break one, like one character can break it, there's no reason that another character could break it and another if they trained hard enough and another and another and another. So making the contract itself unbreakable, but finding some loophole. And I think the loophole would be that Akainu disbands the Navy. So Akainu's like, that's it. I'm disbanding the Navy. So now the Navy doesn't exist. So now Dragon can do whatever he wants.
It would be interesting. I just would like I would like that just because that would make him like imagine Emu making the deal with this person using the command of all things that they've used for the last 800 plus
800
years.
years,
And
exactly.
the one guy who broke it was because he loved his kid and his wife so much that he
Yep.
needed to break it. And that
And
would
he found,
set the
and again,
precedent.
he found so it would be what I really want. So I'm convinced that the last fight for Akainu is going to be against Sabo. It'll be Sabo versus Akainu. That like Luffy will be trying to get to Blackbeard to catch up. Akainu will be about to do the same thing, like to punch a hole in the same way he did to Ace. But instead, this time Sabo there and Sabo blocks it. And we find out that Sabo has been training his devil fruit now, combined with that dragon wind attack that he learned from Dragon, and that now he can turn his flames blue, and that we see like Sabo land a punch on Akainu, and it burns him because blue flames burn much hotter than magma does, and it would then be a callback to Akainu saying, "Look, my magma is hotter than your flames. That's why I can hurt you." So now it
Yeah.
becomes a proper fight between the two of them, and that Sabo wins, and he's about to kill Akainu, and then he doesn't. He stops. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm like this. He even says, "Ace doesn't want me to kill you. Ace doesn't want me to. Like I've defeated you. That's it." And then everything carries on. Sabo then goes back, tries to fight more of the Blackbeard, like Grand Fleet, etc., etc. And that during the so I think the final fight between Emu will be literally all three. So it'll be a generational fight. It'll be Emu versus versus Luffy, Dragon, and Garp, three against one, and that there'll be a part where Luffy is knocked into the water, and they like, that's it, he's dead. No one can go after him. Luffy's been knocked in the water. He's going to sink. And then we literally see an island being formed from under the water. And literally, it's Akainu bringing Luffy back to the surface by physically making an island using his magma fruit
So
and giving him a foothold, which would then call back to Luffy's first real fight against what's the guy with the golden armor?
guy with the golden arm. Oh, Don
That's
Krieg.
Don Krieg, yeah, where Luffy's having to, literally jump between the different bits of broken ships in order to keep his footing. So it's a callback to that. So now you can have everybody properly fighting Emu, doing it the right way, and doing it, like I said, three against one, but with Akainu backing them up by like giving them a foothold to carry on the fight. Because obviously Emu would be able to, in some way, control the ocean, so he'd be making it difficult for the two Devil Fruit users.
Hmm. I like it. I do. I I kind of just I want Dragon to be strong, and I you give him
So do
like
I.
you give him like a really great loophole of why he hasn't shown out,
Yeah.
um, which
I
I
think he has
like
a
that.
wind. I think he definitely has a wind Logia as well. Nothing mythical, just a wind Logia. But in the One Piece world, a wind Logia is ridiculously overpowered because you can basically, let's say you're in a fight and it's not going well, you just turn invisible and float away on the wind. Let's say
Yeah,
you're being chased. Let's say you're being chased by a bunch of ships. Literally, you pump your sails full of wind and make the wind behind you completely stop, so they're completely stuck. Like
yeah,
you could also argue that maybe that literally the calm belt is being constantly produced by Dragon. The Dragon is doing it like literally the same way Kaido was always making it so that the flame clouds were there. You could
yeah.
again, I'm not saying this is true, but I was saying just as like saying like to make Dragon seem even more impressive, you could have the calm belt completely controlled by Dragon.
It would be interesting. I for some reason I don't think he has the Wind Logia.
Oh, really? Interesting.
I'm under the thought process that he might be the rain god.
Oh, okay.
But that it seems like kind of a throwaway thing until we actually get more information because we
Yeah,
literally
exactly.
just
It's
have no.
the reason I go for the wind one is because like his three named attacks are all named after famous winds, like in the real world, like
Yeah,
Mistral and stuff like that. So and again, every time we see like these green like blowing winds, it just seems that that's the way. But again, you could still be right because obviously it would like the rain god would be able to control wind as well to make it rain.
yeah.
So it could
Um,
literally be either. The reason I want it to be a Logia is because I, I kind of miss Logias being really impressive. Like we haven't seen a really impressive Logia in forever. Absolutely, it's been so long. Like Kizaru, he wasn't really fighting properly. We know that, but still, it's like he didn't show out at all. I want to see a proper Logia be a real threat again. That's what I want to see.
yeah. I mean, we really haven't gotten one. I mean, even when we were like finally like, yeah, we're gonna see Kizaru go all out, and it was like he
And
didn't.
then he doesn't exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I feel you. I think that Logias kind of have definitely ever since hockey was introduced.
Yeah, yeah, and mythical Zoans.
Yeah,
they just took away. Yeah, they just took away from them, and it's like, yeah, you just need it to go back. You need something to
tip the
liven it
scales.
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
No,
Something to liven it up again.
I feel you. I do. I just I guess I'm looking at the Skypiea stuff and I'm like, if we have four gods, possibly five we need to introduce, we're in the end game, somebody's got to have these ones.
Well, so
Either
that's so
someone who
that's
was
that's just it.
introduced.
What I would the way you could explain that away is that only the sun god was real. Remember, what's the name of the guy that goes to the Sky Islands, the Noland. So no, remember, Noland explains to them that some of the stuff they believe isn't true, and he even starts talking about their religions, like you don't have to sacrifice people anymore. He saves that woman's life by proving that you don't need to sacrifice to make the crops grow. So you could have it so that the other three weren't real, but that the sun god is real.
That's true. You could do that. And maybe that is something that will come about. Maybe it was just like, yeah, they worshipped all these gods of the things that give
Yep,
them the most, in nature. The rain gives
exactly. Yeah,
us,
but only one was real in the end.
yeah. I don't know. There's definitely a lot of speculation when it comes to the
Oh,
the god
absolutely.
stuff, and every time, like I find myself being like, man, I just want to know more about it.
Same
Like,
here. I'm exactly the same. I hate cliffhangers when it's mysteries. Like cliffhangers of who won the fight, etc. I can deal with those. Like, okay, I'll find out next month, whatever. But like actual like the mystery, like oh no, or what's going to be the next line of text, or what's going to be the answer to the riddle, that sort of stuff. That just it burns my soul when we don't get answers to that.
yeah.
Like when we didn't find out the last few lines of Vegapunk's message. I still hate that.
Oh yeah, that sucks.
Oh, it's
That's pretty terrible.
heartbreaking.
Um, but yeah, no, those were great, great tangents. They were.
Yes,
I love it. So let's go into the next theory. Who gave theirs? I feel like it was me, maybe. I don't know. Um,
go for it.
so my my last theory is on crocodile, and it's one that I've brought up before, but I want to see your
Nice,
thoughts on it.
excellent. Oh, so this is how we can go. You can do your crocodile theory, then I'll do mine.
So I think that crocodile is Roger's daughter.
Really?
And
Wow.
yeah, so when we find out about Ace, Roger is later in life. And he found Rouge, and basically, I mean, obviously they never even got to see each other because he went off to be executed, and they went through and tried to kill all the babies
Yeah.
to basically make it so that there was no offspring of Roger. That's why Rouge had to hold the baby for, what was it, like 20 months. Like, it was
Yeah.
a crazy amount.
No, it was 12 months. So do you know do you know what that story's based on?
Yeah,
So
it's like a biblical
it,
story, is it not?
no. It's actually based on a story from Jackie Chan.
Really?
Jackie Chan claims that his mother held him, like, gestated him for 12 months.
Very interesting.
It's really weird. He just, again, because he wasn't born in a hospital. He was born out in like a fishing village. But yeah, he claims that his mother carried him for 12 months, not 9.
Okay, so no, she held him for 20 months.
Was it 20? Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
it's similar, like I said, they borrowed the story. They've just gone for a longer amount of time.
But so he obviously, impregnated her and then went off and was executed.
Yeah.
And so was held for such an extreme amount of time, to the point where it was unheard of that a baby would, be
Yeah,
still
of
Goldie
course.
Rogers after that. So
Yes.
she has the baby or whatever, it's Ace. But that was at the end of his life. And he had traveled around the world prior to that. In fact, he went to a few other places before even meeting Rayleigh and starting their
Yep.
adventure. So I think that what happened was, during his trips, he found someone and didn't fall in love with them, but did as pirates do,
Yep.
And so they ended up, he ended up knocking her up, but left because he's on his adventure. He's freedom, he's all these things. So he left, And so when she was born, he may have known that she was pregnant. Maybe she sent a letter or something to him on the sea and knew that she was pregnant or whatever, but didn't know anything past that. And that's why once he finally started sailing and they went and found Laughtail, Roger said something very specific that was weird. He said, maybe my son will be the one to find the One Piece after me and fulfill like the prophecy. But
Yeah.
Rayleigh looked at him and said, you don't have a son. And I thought it was weird because it was like, why would he say
He
that?
should
Because he had
he
not
should have said
even
you don't
been
have a
with Rouge.
child. Yeah. Well, no, he should. Well, yeah, he should have said you don't have any children, but he specifically said son.
Exactly. So it was
Nice.
really weird. So there's a possibility that Rayleigh and him and Rayleigh knew, and everything like that. So what happens? So Roger's being executed. But this is a few years after the fact. Who was at Roger's execution? Crocodile. We don't get to see Crocodile's face though. So it could have
Yep.
been female Crocodile.
Yep.
And so all of that happens. And so who do we hear is Roger's biggest rival that wasn't erased from history? Whitebeard.
Whitebeard.
Who does Crocodile go after? Whitebeard. Trying to basically take the place of her father. But she, or maybe even he at this point, gets defeated and loses his hand and then gets the
Yep.
hook and everything like that. But the reason why I think this fits so well is because of the events of Marineford and Impel Down. We find out that Ace is Gold D. Rogers' son. But who isn't around in the panels when that information is being shared by Luffy? Crocodile. Crocodile
Yep.
doesn't know that. And Ivankov says that they are going to reveal the secret of Crocodile. And Crocodile gets pretty pissed off at that. So my thoughts are Crocodile thinks and finds out that his father said that his son is going to be the one to replace him and be the one to find the One Piece and become king of the pirates after the fact. Well, he then searches out for Ivankov, becomes a he, and then goes around and tries to figure out how to get to the One Piece. Part of that is finding the ancient weapons. So what does Crocodile do? Devise a plan to get the
Go
ancient weapons.
searching for it.
Goes to Alabasta,
Very
finds
nice.
the one person that can read poneglyphs, and tries to find that last
This is
poneglyph
very,
in
very good.
exactly. That's the whole point of Alabasta and why he was trying to find that poneglyph was to get the
Yep.
first ancient weapon that he needed. And what do you know? Alabasta's poneglyph said that it was in Wano, but he couldn't read it at the time, obviously. He was
Yep.
just trying to find it. So then he gets locked up. If you look at the cover stories of the breakout of the other people of Baroque Works, Crocodile and Mr. One could have gotten out, but they chose to stay in prison. But on their way out, Miss Golden Week does her one spell that says like ideal future, which shows all of the people in Baroque's works what they truly want to be as their dream. Guess what dream Crocodile had? To become
Go.
king of the pirates. He's wearing Roger's full garb and everything when she
Wow.
uses that. I can send you the picture. Um,
Mm.
so when that all happens, he goes to Impel Down, then Ivankov happens, then everything else happens. They get to Marineford. So he immediately attacks Whitebeard, trying to get his get back. Gets stopped by
Yep.
Luffy and is like, okay, whatever, I'll back off. Then Luffy's trying to make his way to Ace. Sengoku and everyone announces that who is Ace? Well, he's the son of Gold D. Roger. Then, right before Ace is executed the first time, who stops the execution? None
Crocodile.
other than Crocodile. Crocodile stops the execution and makes it so his half brother could survive.
Hmm.
Because otherwise, no one was making it in time. Like, and Crocodile really had no reason to save Ace. He was literally there to fight Whitebeard and mess with the Marines. Like, he really had no point in being there and sticking up for Ace. But once he found out that Gold D. Roger was Ace's dad, he was like, "Holy
Yeah,
shit!"
everything changed.
It did, to the point where he fought Mihawk, he fought Doflamingo, and he, basically was helping Luffy the entire way try and save Ace. He
It's
even
crazy.
and obviously I can't prove this, but who was the person who went up to the execution platform and gave the key that ended up freeing Ace? Mr.
Mr.
3,
Three.
one of Crocodile's subordinates. And
It's
then
mad.
what's even more insane is once they lost Ace, who was the person that saved Luffy? Crocodile.
Yeah,
Crocodile
Jesus.
literally stopped Akainu
This is
and joined up with the Whitebeard pirates to stop Akainu so
this
that they
is
could save
eerie. This is
Luffy.
really, really eerie.
I'm telling you, there's no reason why he would have saved it, but what was Ace's like dying wish was to and Whitebeard's dying wish was to basically stop Luffy from dying. And
Yep.
especially Crocodile has nothing to gain from helping Luffy, who beat the bricks off him and basically ruined his plan. Like if anything, he probably should have just kicked up and watched Akainu donut Luffy. But what does he
This is
do? He
madness.
stops him. Then
This
we
is
get to the
crazy.
the next point. Crocodile joins up with an ex Roger pirate in Cross Guild. And not only that, he calls up Mihawk beforehand and is talking to him
Hmm.
as the Marines are attacking him. And I personally think that Mihawk and Crocodile go way back. And the reason I think that is because I think Crocodile probably went to talk to Rayleigh about his father, and they
Oh, okay.
and I think that there's also a good possibility that Mihawk is Shaggy and Rayleigh's child.
Rayleigh's son. Yeah, same. I think that definitely.
Yeah. So I think that there's definitely a good possibility that they have almost like a familial connection in the way
Yeah.
that it's like you were the captain and the vice captain and the vice captain's son and the captain's son. Like it to me it would just make sense.
That's so good. That's one of your best.
Honestly, uh I think that it would make
Mine,
so much
mine's
sense.
nowhere near as good now.
Oh, I'm sure it is. You think out your stuff very well, but I think that there's even more that has to do with the fact that they and even though Crocodile was a little bit opposed at first, I think that there's a good chance that he obviously wants to go after the One Piece too, and having having Luffy already going after it and then having Buggy say like, well, I also too want to go after it. I think that he knows more about the One Piece than he's letting on.
He's letting on, yeah.
And so he's like, okay, well, we need to get the ancient weapons first. So I think that Crocodile's already plotting to try and make that happen, but he knows that you need the ancient weapons first.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a good chance that we're gonna see um uh hold on, I'm sending I think I just sent it to you in the chat. That's Crocodile in the full
Oh shit!
Roger.
Look at that.
Uh,
That's mad.
yeah.
How
He
have I never
gets
seen that before?
yeah, it was part of the Baroque Works cover stories of them escaping.
Oh, that's crazy. I've never seen that before. That's amazing.
Yeah, so it shows their ideal transformations.
Yeah.
That's and he gets transformed into the Pirate King, and Mr. One becomes a superhero. Um, so uh, I think there's a good chance that we get a trip to Fishman Island for Cross Guild, because I think they might eventually find out about Poseidon. And so it's going to be a rush to see who can get ancient weapons.
Weapons
And
first. Yeah.
that's why I think there might even be a clash with Frost Guild and Blackbeard near Wano.
Yeah. Which is like I said, why I think that someone like Doflamingo is going to be involved as a double agent.
Yeah, I definitely think that Doflamingo getting freed by Cross Guild is pretty great. So far, it seems as though everyone at Roger's execution, minus Shanks, is going to be a part of Cross Guild.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't see how they don't get Gecko Moria and Doflamingo to join Cross Guild as well.
Yeah. Agreed.
Because that would be a star-studded cast.
Oh yeah, exactly. Most of the old warlords.
Yeah, there. I mean,
That's-
I wouldn't be surprised if
so do
Boa
you know what I would
joins.
love? Do you know what I would love as well? I would love it. Like I said, I mean, in this time skip, I think well, I know it's going to happen. Imagine if Moria actually gets buff again. So instead of being the fat thing he is, he actually gets buff.
Honestly, I would love it because I think that Moria could be the first time that we ever see in the series the precedent of someone who had their will crushed and lost what I think was their original like power. Because I
Yeah.
think, and a lot of people like argue over what a conqueror is, and I have my own theories and what I think, but I think that there is inherent conquerors. But I think that even if you have conquerors, I think you can lose it.
Yes. Oh
And I
well. So I think you can sacrifice it as well.
yes, like, and that's where a lot of people think about Mihawk sacrificing their
Yep.
conquerors for their Black
And that's
Blade.
why. That's exactly. Yeah. That's been my take for years now.
And but I think Moria lost his conquerors when he was beaten and his whole crew killed by
Yep.
Kaido. But
Yeah.
I
Which
think
which
that
is
we could get
understandable.
I think we could get a revitalized Moria that has his conquerors back.
Yeah, that'd be great. Like I said, you've got 2 years to get buff. You could do a lot in 2 years.
He sure could. I mean, even just running from Blackbeard could be enough.
Yeah.
Get his cardio on, you
See,
know?
I think Blackbeard's kind of done with him now anyway. I think they've got a blood sample and that's all they needed. So like they don't really need I think again with York joining, they won't really need like to steal devil fruits. They'll just be able to, the ones they already have access to from like the lineage factor. That's all they need.
Yeah.
So it's what I want to see. So remember how like in Wano we had a bunch of people with like almost like they almost had Zoan fruits, like the smiles and stuff like that, yeah?
Yeah.
How do you upscale that for like a bigger battle? You make it so that even the fodder characters on Blackbeard's crew have green blood. So you could have an entire squadron of people with the swim fruit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think I think it'd be amazing just to see again people with the string fruit, just like armies of them.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. But yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I think that
and powerful.
there will be more proof in the future. I really hope it gets fleshed out,
Yeah,
Crocodile's lineage. But I truly believe that that is true. I believe that Crocodile is the daughter of Roger. Um, and I think that one one day we'll actually get the truth of who
Yeah.
Crocodile is, and hopefully it's soon because I want more information on Crossguild.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Same here.
Oh, I also
See,
think
my
that whenever they break Doflamingo out, and there's also the possibility of breaking out Moria from Blackbeard eventually,
yeah,
if he didn't already escape. uh I think that you we will also get a Edward Weevil will also be joining Cross Guild.
yep, definitely.
So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. So
No, that's fantastic. Like I said, fantastic. It's way better than mine. So thanks for that.
yeah, well, of course. I'm interested to hear it now.
So mine is basically that Crocodile was born a woman and went out to sea, became a pirate, etc., etc., and he wanted to join like what he called the best pirate crew. He wanted to join Whitebeard's crew, and as we learned in a very early SBS, Whitebeard does not have female combatants on his crew. He only has nurses and doctors. He only has sons. That's why he calls them all sons. He doesn't have any daughters. Now, the anime ruined this by adding Bello Betty, whatever her name was. But that was the anime only. If you go back and actually read the manga, she's not there. She's been added later on now, but the SBS still exists where it says that, again, Whitebeard only has, men fighting on his crew. So Crocodile went away, tracked down Ivankov, and it's like, look, make me a man. Made him a man, fine, did the transformation, came him across. Then when he went back to Whitebeard again, Whitebeard still said no. So he attacked him, and obviously Whitebeard defended himself and slashed him across the face. And that's why he has the scar. And all it was him wanting to join Whitebeard's crew. Nothing else, nothing nefarious. He just wanted to be part of Whitebeard's family.
Mm, I could see that too. I mean, the yeah, I mean, I could see that. But it does seem weird that there are other women that fight in Whitebeard's thing.
No,
I like
no,
there's
no, 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 no. No, there's allies. No, those are allied captains. They're
oh,
separate. I mean, people on the Moby Dick.
really? I feel like there was other ones. Hold on, let me look.
No, no, hang on. I'll find you the SBS.
Let's see.
I can find the damn
Well,
thing.
as far as division commanders, I think you're right. Because it's Marco, Ace, Jozu Thatch, Vista, Blamenko, Rakuyo, Namer, Blenhelm, Kirill, Kingdu, Haruta, Atmos, Speed Jiru, Fossa, and Izo.
Yeah, it's all men. Where the hell is this SBS? Apparently, it's been like they've tried to scrub as much of it as they can from the internet because it's sexist.
Yeah, his allies, though, subordinate captains. Let
Ah,
me
I've got
see
it.
if
I've got
I
it. Yeah,
found
I've
it.
got it. I've got it. Hang on, I'll send you the image. Uh, Save image. Desktop because I'm lazy. Right, you ready?
Yep.
I'm sending it now. There you go.
Let's see here. There are no women on Whitebeard. I'm curious. There were female nurses on the ship during his first appearance in Volume 25. They're actually the medical team of the Whitebeard crew. Whitebeard never allowed any women on his ship as fighters. That's why there were no women on his ship
See,
when they
told you.
showed up to the Paramount Warren Marineford. He was prepared to die in that battle. He ripped off the medical apparatuses that kept him alive, sent all the tearful nurses off the ship, and headed off to the final battle with only men at his side. I didn't draw that. I didn't draw it, but that was a bit of drama behind his entrance. Oh,
See, told you.
very interesting.
And then the animators changed it because they wanted to add a female crew member to Whitebeard's crew, so they added Bello Betty, whatever her name was.
Yeah, Bello Betty's revolutionary.
Oh, not her then. You know the one I mean. The one in the woman in blue.
Oh, Whitey Bay.
Whitey Bay, that's it. I knew it was something like that.
Yeah, she's one of the subordinate members.
Yes,
Man,
yes, but she was the way they animated her when they did the
yeah,
animation. They made her a Whitebeard crew member. She's even at the funeral in the anime when they go to Ace and Whitebeard's funeral, but she's not there in the manga because she's meant to be a subordinate crew member. But the animators wanted to add a female crew member, and the animators keep cocking things up when they do fucking things up. The amount of things that the animators have messed up over the years just wind me the hell up.
yeah. It says that.
Especially recently with when they did what's his name? They gave Blackbeard Red Lightning.
Oh yeah, it says Ice Witch Whitey Bay is an infamous New World pirate captain who was once a member of the Whitebeard Pirates before forming her own crew subordinate to Whitebeard.
Yes, that's how they tried to fix it.
Makes sense. She's like Vivi if she actually dressed like a pirate.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Her
Oda really can't draw different women, can he?
My wife constantly makes jokes about how Oda just be trying to draw every single different nose possible.
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely right. And if you change their hair color, they all look like each other. The women.
Yeah, they're all Nami. Um,
Yes, exactly.
yeah, they're all Nami
uh,
in
yes,
wigs.
your wife has a good eye.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so I mean that was I like that idea. Um, I it would be interesting to see that flashback. I don't
Yeah,
know. I would want to know what his motivation for wanting to be on.
I think
Um,
I think I think that we'll find out that he had a really really rubbish childhood. Like his childhood was miserable, and that maybe even that he thought that Roger attacked a village that he grew up in. Because remember, the Navy aren't above like what's the word I'm looking for? Not plagiarism. It begins with P. Propaganda. They're
yeah.
not like. Imagine there was a battle between the Roger pirates and the Navy on, let's say, Crocodile's home island when he was a kid, and loads of stuff was destroyed. Maybe his parents were killed, or his father, especially. It says his father was murdered, and the Navy blamed it all on Roger. So of course now Crocodile wants to join the only captain that can stand up to Roger. So he tries to join Whitebeard. And Whitebeard's like, sorry, I can't, don't take girls. Goes out, finds Ivankov, begs him to turn him into a man. He finally does it, and then even then, it's not enough. So he gets the scar across his face, and that's why he's desperate to kill Whitebeard now.
I mean that it makes sense. Um, I like it. If that's what happened, I wouldn't be opposed. I am biased
Yeah, me neither.
towards my own theory.
Oh no, no, yours is way better. I love yours. So yeah, fuck you. Thanks for that.
um, no, I just I think that it would be really interesting. I feel like Crocodile is such an interesting character, being the fact
Yes.
that we got this character introduced so early, and even Oda was like, "Yeah, I probably messed up introducing Crocodile too soon." Um, but we got this character. We didn't get a lot of information, but the fact that,
No,
over, 400 chapters later, all of a sudden we're getting crocodiles back, crocodiles
I
in
just I
jail. Like,
Crocodile became one of my most like characters I'm most interested in when he started helping Luffy at Marineford because it made no sense. It
right?
came out of nowhere, especially he attacks a Kainu for goodness sake.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. It's crazy.
Yes.
But
And the craziest part is Akainu didn't see it coming.
no, exactly.
A
It just takes them by
Akainu
surprise.
Akainu who literally was able to, what I think, a lot of this is a highly debated topic, but the person who I think molded his body into different shapes to escape from Marco and Vista using hockey against him. Like, this guy has like
Ah, okay.
future sight. I like there's been showcases
Oh,
of advanced
don't get
hockey.
into this. Yeah, don't get into this. Me, I see. The word apparently the take that people like really hate of mine is I think Marineford is a mess.
No, it
If you
is.
look if you take around all the stuff that we know now, like things like future sight and observation, that sort of stuff, like none of it makes sense. Again, why does Aokiji not get stabbed? Why didn't Whitebeard use armament haki to stab Aokiji? Aokiji would have died straight away. And then when they're attacking Akainu, sometimes it damages, but sometimes it doesn't. And there's no right. They were never told rhyme or reason as to why some attacks work and some attacks don't.
I agree with you. It is a mess. I wish we could go, and this is what I would want. I would love if we could get the perspective of like Marineford, but from the perspective of them actually using hockey. Like, seeing the armament form and things like that, seeing the moments where observation and future sight are being used,
Yeah.
seeing Rio you being used. Because I think that when, Whitebeard uses his Quake ability and all three admirals put their hands out and stop it, I think that's Rio, them stopping him
Yeah,
from using it.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. But it's never explained. This is the problem, and I guarantee you, we will never get an explanation of anything at Marineford because Marineford was done as a spectacle, not as a plot device.
Yes. Yeah, it
Like it's
was.
all these big flashy things going on, and nothing actually happens. Like Ace dies, and that's it. Nothing else. Like it's like, oh, a bunch of Whitebeard pirates died. Okay, any of the ones that like mattered? Oh no, they're all fine.
Yeah, Vista is good. Marco's good. Jozu lost an arm, but only in the
Yeah,
manga.
yeah.
Yeah.
I characters I despise because people love them so much. Marco's got to be number two on my list after Zoro.
Dang, more Marco hate. That's crazy.
No, so no, I don't hate Marco. I hate Marco fans.
Oh, okay. I'm
Like
not a Marco
people that
fan.
no people that honestly believe that Marco was capable of holding off King and Queen is just delusional.
Whoa, whoa,
It's
whoa,
like you.
whoa. Hold up.
No, well, no. So if I let's say I tie a rope around Mike Tyson's head and I pull and I hold him back for 10 seconds, doesn't mean I've held him up. Doesn't mean I can beat Mike Tyson in a fight. It's like the second they get up and start fighting seriously, like again, King didn't have his flames on. If King had his flames on, Marco's not that fast. We've seen how slow Marco can be. So Marco's getting wrecked because Marco's not going to be able to do any damage to King once his flames are on. Not at all. Not a single bit of damage. If Zoro can't damage him, neither can Marco.
I agree with that. And to me, that's Oda's writing. But me personally, I think he held off King and Queen. I mean, I don't think that they were going
Yeah, no,
full.
for a second he did. What I mean is he wouldn't have been capable of defeating them in a fight, is what I mean.
No, not a 2v1 scenario. I think that he could probably have beaten Queen. Um, but I don't think that he could have beaten King. Um, but I think that he definitely, like, I mean, he hemmed up both of them and threw Zoro up to the rooftop, you know, and they were both trying to attack him at the same time, and he like
Yeah, but
kind
that's
of was
yeah. Oh,
handling
don't get me
them.
wrong. Yeah, don't get me wrong. He's fine for stalling people for a brief amount of time, but
Yeah.
some people take the ability to stall as the ability to fight, and they're not the same thing.
No, like Marco to me scales now, I would say probably around maybe Jinbei level, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, he's
Like,
below Zoro. I would even say he's probably below Jinbei. He's below
yeah,
the Quadrio.
yeah, I agree with that. But I think like when you get into those higher tiers of fighters, I think that anything can be an interesting fight depending on how you use the utility. Like, I don't agree at all with I think it was Lawrence's take of Marco wasn't needed for Wano because he definitely
Absolutely, he
was.
wasn't.
You don't think he was?
Not really. No. So? What did Marco realistically do at Wano? He didn't bring many people in terms of ships. Cat Viper would have turned up on their own regardless. They were only taking so long because they were looking for Marco. So if you don't go after Marco, it's like Marco knocked the ship down. Okay, the ship fell down twice, but it's like what again? What would have happened? Perospero would have got there slightly earlier, and
So, well, Sparrow was the only one that really got there after the ship got
yeah.
wrecked that bad, but Smoothie was on the ship, and Smoothie's one of the sweet
Oh, so
commanders.
yeah, but I don't rate Smoothie at all. Snack is also a sweet commander. He got beaten by a Rouge. Do you know what I mean? It's just unfortunately not all commanders are equal. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
Like I
definitely
don't
not.
rate Smoothie at
I
all.
think Smoothie's at least cracker level.
Oh,
Like
yeah, maybe, but like I said, Luffy was realistically now. Luffy would have been able to beat Cracker without using Gear 4.
I
Sorry,
would agree with that.
If Van Alga can do it with bullets, Luffy can do it with fists.
Well, that we know that's not real. Um, but I mean, so
Oh,
realistically, I mean, he
it's
did
supposed to
stop.
be canon.
Well, anime
I know, I
canon.
hate it too. I
Um,
hate it too.
I only use anime to scale when it fits my narrative.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
But I mean, realistically, I mean, he stopped most of the big mom pirates besides for Sparrow coming, which would have been a lot. I mean, considering they were already facing the beast pirates and they were already crazy outnumbered. I mean,
Yeah,
but not only that, I mean, he got Zoro on the rooftop, which was, kind of paramount to the success of what happened up there because he saved Luffy a number of times while Luffy was gassed. So
yeah.
he would have been needed for that, you know. And you could argue like, oh, he probably would have made it up there, but like it would have been different. But my main thing is most likely all of the ice oni would have turned and killed almost everybody on the laugh floor.
That's
Um,
fair. I forgot about the ice oni. Fair enough.
and I think Chopper probably would have turned into an Ice Oni had Marco
Yeah.
not used his ability to slow the Ice Oni progression and to get everyone back in their right mind. Because once Chopper only got the antibodies once he was already poisoned with the Ice Oni virus. And so if he would have lost it, there would have been no doctor that would have been able to make the actual cure for it. So that would have changed things dramatically.
No, I
Um,
agree. I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, so he was there you go. He was crucial for the ice oni part, but not really for anything else.
I mean, I disagree. I think that Marco was necessary, especially, for this to make sure everything happened the way it did. Zoro got
So
up on the
the
rooftop.
question yeah, but also no, so those things could have been done by other people. The thing that Marco did, which was exclusive to Marco, I would say, is the being able to heal the like ice oni part.
Yeah, so that was exclusive to him, but like I don't think that was the only way in which he helped out dramatically. I think that,
No, I just mean that was the way he helped out the most.
yeah, I would agree with that. That, and I think holding off King and Queen long enough for Zoro to finally get out of his giant bandage. Um,
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
it,
He was a good time staller. Good time
yeah,
staller.
I don't think that he
Just
needed to play a
just
crazy part. I just think that
no.
without him,
He
I
just
don't see how they would have won, and they wouldn't have had as many casualties. You know, there's a possibility that
yeah.
they could have lost Chopper, um, and that would have
That's
been
true.
crazy.
That's true.
Plus, they probably would have had to kill Hirogoro,
Hirogero,
and
yeah.
yeah, and like a bunch of the other samurai as well. Um, and so, it wouldn't have been good, but yeah, that's my take on it.
Like I
I
said,
don't
yeah.
even
Like I
like
said, I
Marco.
yeah, no,
That's my
it's fine.
biggest
Like I said,
problem.
I'm not saying he wasn't like essential for Wano. Just saying in terms of like attack power, he's just not there.
Yeah. I wish things would have went slightly different in the story.
Yeah.
Um, so the first ever time I called into that One Piece talk, I talked to them about how I wish during Marineford, Ace wouldn't have died, but Garp would have died instead.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
And Marco would have died along with
Oh,
Whitebeard.
wow. There you go.
And
Crazy.
I would have said
I'd be
one,
fine. I'd be fine with that.
I would have too. And then what would have been interesting is the insertion of Ace into later parts of the story.
And Ace would have become the de facto like leader of the Whitebeard pirates.
Yes. And then what would
Interesting.
have been really interesting is, so Luffy goes through time skip. He goes to Fishman Island. He goes to Punk Hazard. Everything still happens generally the way it should. But when they get to Dressrosa, when they enter the tournament, there's two people that enter in different disguises, along with like Burgess and all the others.
So what would the prize have been this time then? Because it couldn't have been the Mera Mera. What do you think the prize would have been?
It would have been Marco's fruit,
Oh, awesome.
and
I like that. That's very cool.
Sabo would have gotten Marco's fruit
That's cool.
instead of the Maramara fruit.
Yeah.
And that to me would have been really cool, because like I feel like phoenixes are a sign of like freedom, rebirth, and revolution. And it would make sense that the revolutionary second in command would have had the phoenix fruit, you know.
Yeah.
And
I would
I
have I
think
would have been
that
fine with that.
Sabo would have been able to utilize the fruit way better than Marco ever had. Um,
Well, again, Sabo's able to utilize the Mera Mera better than Ace was. Almost
exactly.
straight away.
Yeah. So what would have been really interesting is if instead of it being a blue and yellow phoenix, he would have been a blue and black phoenix.
That would have been cool.
Um, which would have been super dope. And then also it would have made it so that when Luffy went to Wano to fight against Kaido, Ace would have also went there in the hopes that they could, because Law would have made an alliance with Luffy, and then
Yeah.
Luffy at Dressrosa would have gotten Sabo or Ace to join their alliance.
Yeah. You're
And
absolutely
then
right.
when they finally get to the rooftop, it's Zoro, Luffy, Kid, Law, Killer, Ace. And it would have been so cool because then Ace would have gotten that moment with Tama, would have got that moment with Yamato, and would have had like, I think that it's way more believable on the power scale thing, especially if Ace learns hockey and stuff like that from Rayleigh
Yeah.
after Marineford and all that other stuff. If Luffy and Ace defeat Kaido and Law and Kid beat Big Mom, to me, that shows the Yonko are still above them by a lot. But it's
Yes.
believable that two of them can 1v1, like, or two of them
Yeah.
can attack one of them. But
No, that's really good. Yeah, that's really good again. Fantastic.
thank you. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's good stuff. It's really good stuff.
Okay. Maki Jiro says, where would you rank Kaku and Lucci in the Beast Pirates, power scale wise?
So Lucci was able to do pretty well against Zoro. Let's be fair. Like
Yeah.
Zoro was using his Conqueror's Haki during that fight, and Lucci was still able to hold his own a bit. So I'd put him above Queen, below King.
I think that's pretty accurate. I would say I think that Zoro wasn't going all out, but also was worn out because they
Oh
were
no,
also
yeah, definitely wasn't going all out, but he was still, putting
yeah.
effort in.
Yeah, I would say that's an accurate scale. I think that Lucci could probably body Queen. Um
Yeah,
but as far as Kaku goes, I would say Kaku is probably this is gonna sound
I'd probably,
disrespectful.
I'd probably say the same. Actually, I'd probably say again
Oh
above Queen
wow.
but below King. Because
Uh
the problem with Queen is only really threatening if they have prep time. If they have prep time where they can get all the chemicals and poisons and stuff like that, then they're much more of a threat. But if not, then realistically they're just a brachiosaurus that occasionally blows itself up.
yeah, I think that Queen's a lot trickier though. Like Queen ha
Yeah. He is as long as he has the stuff he needs to be tricky. But there's no guarantee of that in a fight. You change the question to like all of these people have prep time, then it's very different. Prep time, I think Queen could genuinely beat Lucci and Kaku.
see, I think that Kaku uses swords and or limbs, and I don't think that Kaku could cut Queen with him being an android and using hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why I think that Kaku goes beneath Queen. But I think
Fair enough.
that
Oh, definitely. They're both definitely above Jack though.
yeah, but I think that
Jack turned into a joke. It was really disappointing because Jack, when we saw Jack on Zanisha on Zoe, he was really threatening, and then they
yeah,
turned him into a joke. Like, he
yeah,
gets hit by an elephant, and after that, he's just a pussy.
yeah. His hybrid form is laughable. Um,
Yeah, exactly.
but I like um I think that Lucci could hurt Queen because of his Roquogon, the
Yeah,
six king
definitely.
pistol. Like I think
Yeah,
that that is like almost as good, if not the same
as a
level as Rio.
Rio. Yeah, I agree. I
So
agree.
I think that that's the only reason why I put Lucci in that category above Queen and why I
Yeah,
put Kaku beneath.
no, fair
So
enough.
that's my thoughts on it.
So, speaking of people getting things wrong, what are some misconceptions that people have in One Piece that bug you?
Oh, what a conqueror is. That's
Okay,
that's probably
interesting.
my biggest critique and my biggest thing when it comes to how I think the the guys on TOPT view Conquerors hockey.
Okay,
I think that they think that Conquerors hockey is this, or being a conqueror means that you hold yourself to this crazy
yeah,
standard.
you can never submit to another person.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
And like I think that and I also think that they for some reason I think most of the time they think that a conqueror is someone who will never lose to someone who's a
yeah.
non-conqueror.
But
And I
so remember, Zoro is the best example. Zoro literally got on his hands and knees, as it is. Zoro's a conqueror, and he begged Mihawk to train him.
yeah.
So, but he's still a conqueror. Like the Rocks pirates were all under rocks. They all had conqueror's haki, but they still stayed. They
Yes.
served rocks.
Yes. And I think that conquerors can
Like
get passed up by non-conquerors.
Katakuri served Big Mom. He's still a conqueror.
Yeah, like I think that the misconception over what a conqueror is, I feel like Oda
Yeah,
really
I
needs
know
to
what you mean.
outline it just because
Yep.
like, and maybe we need to see it full-fledged. Maybe we need to
Yeah.
see
It
someone pack up a
rules.
conqueror that's
Yeah.
not a conqueror.
Yeah. It needs rules. It needs rules added to it. That's the
Yes.
thing. We need proper guidelines about what it is, what it means.
Yeah, and like the some people are like, well, I just don't think that, we there should be more conquerors that are in the show. And I'm like, the One Piece world has like billions of people.
Yeah.
And and
Having 100 conquerors is not a lot. Yeah.
exactly, like like
Yeah.
having a lot of conquerors doesn't necessarily make it not special. It just means that there's such a huge population that you're bound to find them, you
Yeah.
know?
Exactly. They're outliers. That's the point.
And that's why when people say like Usopp couldn't be a conqueror, and I'm like,
Oh, I think Usopp could potentially be a conqueror one day.
100%. I mean,
Great.
I definitely think that. I think that there's one. I think Jinbei is a conqueror. I can't prove it,
That's interesting.
but I do
No, that's
think
fair
that he
enough.
is.
I think he's probably the person that will next show signs of it.
And I think that there's also a good possibility that Nami has it. You know,
Yeah.
outside of a gap.
I'd say the same about Robin as well.
Robin, I can see, but not. I feel like if I were to give a list of who I think has it on the crew, I think it would be Jinbei, Nami, Usopp, Robin, in
Yeah,
that
I
order.
agree. Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
but like, yeah, the misconceptions of conquerors and like what that means, I don't think it means that you can't be beaten by another conqueror because I could
Agreed.
easily see Sanji where he's at right now, possibly beating Doflamingo. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh, yeah. No, 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 no. Current Sanji definitely beats Doflamingo.
yeah,
Definitely, because but just because of the what do you call it? His genetic upgrade. Like
yeah.
those strings are not going to hold Sanji anymore. Not a chance. He's just going to bust out of them. If a sword at point blank range being swung by a giant Brachiosaurus isn't it like is going to crack, then his poxy little strings are not going to cut through Sanji. They're not going to hold him at all.
Yeah, and so like I think that you know we need to kind of get rid of this understanding of what people think conquerors are, what they think
Yes.
that it means to be a conqueror. Because like I said before, I think you can be a conqueror and lose your conquerors too
Yeah.
by having your will broken. This show is all about
That
willpower, but we've
we
seen
yeah
people
we could
lose that.
we could get that in the form of Gecko Moria. Like
Exactly.
if I'm right, and there's another time skip, and Moria comes back, Moria could come back with conquerors.
I 100% agree.
Yeah,
Um,
so Marky's message us again. Okay, so will Bonnie and Momo get conquerors? Momo definitely. Bonnie, I'm not sure. I don't think Bonnie needs it for
uh,
what like her role is left in the story.
I 100% agree. I think Momo will get it. I think Momo will actually get
Yeah,
really strong. Um,
yeah. Oh, same here. Same here.
and I think that there are other people that will probably showcase a form of conquerors or something like
Yep.
that from people that we've seen. Like,
Yeah.
there's to me, I think that there's a good possibility that Crocodile would have conquerors. Um,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
I mean,
He
I
might be another one of the people that lost it and then regains it.
this is just for me, just because of what I think might happen in the future. Is I think Law could also have conquerors. Um,
I kind of hope not.
really,
It's yeah. So out of the three, the trio, Law, Kid, Luffy, I kind of don't want to because Law then is our thing of can a non-conqueror beat a conqueror? So because like whichever way you want to put it, Law and Kid are more equal than they are distant. So
Yeah.
that them being able to like fight each other or whatever, even if it's just like a friendly scrap, the winner will prove whether or not like again a conqueror can beat a non-conqueror. Like people keep saying that Law is stronger than Kid. Well, there you go then. Then if by that argument, a non-conqueror can beat a conqueror.
Yeah. I I just would personally want it for him because I think that this is his moment to showcase that he has it because he can either fold or he can actually get stronger and like his willpower to continue
See,
would
I
be
see. I think this is going to be his thing that makes him just want to help Luffy. Like he knows his thing is done. Now all he wants to do is make sure that Blackbeard doesn't become king, and the best bet he has is to help Luffy. So I think what he'll do is he'll start going around places, doing little things. You know, like how Sanji kicked the controls on Eni's lobby so the gates would open.
yeah,
Law will do something like that. Law will, like, again, he probably won't join the Grand Fleet yet. Maybe he will because there's plenty of boats, there's plenty of ships out there with Luffy's flag. But something will happen and he will help somebody. Maybe he'll help, what's his name? Bartolomeo escape prison. That'd be cool.
maybe. I want law to be more prevalent in the story, and I think that
So
if
do
you
I.
are a member of the D clan, I think that that also denotes uh, a, a a good possibility of conquerors.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's why him being a D clan member and having all of these things makes me think that he will have it. Um,
Yeah.
we've seen a lot of people, they either fold or and they give up being a pirate, like, a Bellamy or something like that, or they get reinvigorated to push back. And I think that Law will want his crew back and he
Yes.
will want them back strong enough that he will get help from someone, but he will emerge with stronger than ever. Um,
Yeah.
but I think we might also see the possibility of losing your conquerors in Kid.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good point.
That's somebody who has it that hasn't really trained it,
Yeah.
and then, he has everything taken away from him by
Yeah.
red hair. So,
No, I agree. That's a really good shout. I think you're probably right about that. That'll be the first one we see to lose it. Like,
yeah,
like Luffy will tell him to use it, and it's like, oh, I can't. So what? But you could use it before. I can't use it now.
yeah, it's just not there anymore, you know.
Mm.
But no, I
Which is
definitely
which is
think that.
sad, but that's what you get for trying to challenge a fucking Yonko after not even being able to beat another one. You
Oh my
did, yeah,
God,
kid, you didn't beat Kaido. What are you doing?
yeah. Like even if you beat Kaido, it would going
Yeah.
against
So
Shanks would have been
see,
hard then.
yeah, exactly. This goes into another one of my theories where I think that Kid is Vegapunk's son.
Okay, so I've seen a lot of those.
Yeah, yeah, and
With
that
like
base,
him having all the stuff being punked, him having like
yeah,
the '07 on his like
but also,
rail
but,
gun and
but like
stuff
I
like
said,
that.
also he would be the missing sin. He would be Wrath,
Yeah, which
which again,
would be
exactly what
cool.
he is. Exactly, but like I said, it would then explain why he is so short-sighted and determined to fight these people he knows he can't defeat. Because I think Vegapunk tried to help him. I think Vegapunk basically made it so he wanted his son to be safe out on the ocean. So he gave him upgrades and stuff like that, those sort of things. Like, I think he's probably going to figure out he has these extra abilities that his father gave him that he doesn't know about at the moment. It's just so that we get an upgraded version of Kid.
I mean, it would be interesting. I don't
So,
know.
like I said, it's just
I don't know if I
something a
would
bit
like it or
different.
not, but it would be different. I will say that.
Yeah.
Um, but Makijiro said, Nerdtaku, what are your thoughts on a potential Garland and Sakazuki interaction? Um, that would be very interesting. Just because I wonder, I feel like there's so many times where I have a question about Akainu, and it's always me going, how much does he know? Because
Yes.
and it literally is always that, like, does he know the whole world is sinking? Does he
Yeah.
know, like, in this case I would be like, does he know that
So
Shanks's,
this is my
this
thing.
might be
This is
Shanks's
my
dad?
thing. I think Akainu is the founder of Sword, and that no one in Sword knows. I think everyone in Sword is like, oh, who founded it? I don't know. It was founded years ago. Like no one knows who the actual leader of Sword is. And I think it's Akainu. I think Akainu has been planning this for a very, very, very long time. He knows that the people he works for can't be trusted, etc., etc. So he's trying to gather up all the Navy soldiers that actually care about the world and put them all in one place and keep them safe.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. In the one cover story, you see him and he has a sword
It's
tattoo on his
tattoos,
arm.
exactly. Yep,
So
exactly.
it would make sense. But when it comes to like the whole Garland thing, if he
I think he'll hate
knows,
him. I think he hates all of the Gurusei, and he's going to hate this guy even more
yeah,
because remember, Darling, we know killed shit tons of innocent civilians.
not to mention, I mean, he would be like, oh man, this is the guy who's, you know, this is the guy's dad who stopped me at the war from
Yep,
Merck and Kobe.
exactly.
Like, yeah, if that is his father. But yeah, no, I
Yeah,
100% agree. I think Sakazuki hates all of the Gorosei. I think he hates all the
yeah,
celestial dragons, to be honest.
exactly. Yeah,
He just
hundred
knows that
percent.
they're above him.
Yeah,
Um,
and because of the deal, like I said, the deal fruit, there's nothing you can do about it.
yeah, but no, that's super interesting. But all right, we're getting towards the 3 hour mark, and I feel like we could
Yes.
go all night. Um, but that just means that we got to do this again.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely, 100%. Whenever you want.
but yeah, so we'll wrap here, and I just want to
Yeah.
thank
Well, I'll
everyone.
just I'll quickly tell you the misconception that bothers me because you
Oh,
you you
that's right.
sort of tapped on it earlier. So the one that bothers me most is about devil fruits and their wills. So when the Gurusei are talking about this, they're talking about Zoan fruits only. So it's not the other kind, just Zoans, right? And that when so Zoan fruits have a mind, like have a will of their own. It doesn't mean like the like so it's not like the one ring from Lord of the Rings where it can decide to like fall off your finger, it can roll down a hill, etc., etc. It can make decisions on its own. What it means is that the animal inside it, when you consume that fruit and you become that animal, depending on that animal's temperament, it will affect your personality. For example, right? So let's say there's a sloth fruit out there. I'm sure there is, right? If
Yeah.
you ate that fruit, you would become lazy. If you ate the cheetah fruit, you would run around faster. Chopper mentions this back when we first meet Lucci and Kaku. And he says about Lucci, he says, oh, when people consume carnivore zoans, they become bloodthirsty monsters. That's what it means. So when they're talking about the Nika fruit never coming into their hands because the fruit has a will of its own, what it means is that if you were to eat that fruit, whereas a sloth would be lazy, Nika would want to be free. So it would never join the Navy as an organization. It would never join them. That's why Luffy completely decides after Luffy has eaten the Nika fruit, he doesn't want to join Shanks anymore. He wants to have his own crew. He completely changes his mind. That's what it means by the will of the fruits. Is like that's what affects. It's when you consume it. Only when it's consumed. It can't like choose to be eaten by somebody or roll down a hill or jump off of a bench. Any of that sort of stuff. When it's a fruit, it's just a fruit. But the second you consume it, it will affect your personality in many ways.
Okay. I get that. And I agree with you for the most part. I do believe that there is a possibility that some fruits have, especially like ones like Luffy's and stuff like that. I think the will actually can be exuded slightly on the
Oh,
people around him.
I know what you mean. I really hope not. You're probably right by the way the writing has gone. I just really hope not, because then the problem becomes which fruits can influence you and how much of that influence is then the decision made for you. Like destiny. I hate destiny in fiction. I despise it. And if this fruit can influence you, and it was always good, like people who say, "Oh, Luffy was always destined to eat the Nika fruit." No, it was a combination of factors. Shanks turned up on an island. He had no idea there would be a child there called Luffy. He didn't know. He just rocked up to this island. I think he was looking for Ace, but he turned up, didn't have the fruit guarded, and the fucking idiot ate it. There was no destiny there. It was a random convergence of events.
So I will give one piece of evidence that I feel is different, that actually shows that it's not don't get me wrong. I think that it's 100% like not predetermined, but I think that there's like I don't know, almost like I don't know, like you ever watch Harry Potter and you hear like
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
like the little postle tongue, type thing. It's almost like a little whisper.
yeah.
I feel like it's almost like that. Like
Oh, okay, okay.
it's not like a hey,
Eat me,
I'm
eat me, eat
yeah.
me.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's almost like suggesting it. Like it's
Yeah,
still the
I get you.
person's will to do the actual thing. And the reason I think that is exactly when Blackbeard sees Thatch holding the darkness fruit. At first he's
Oh,
so shocked.
I think that's more about Blackbeard's insanity. I think that's more that Blackbeard's addled mind is he truly believes that these inanimate objects are speaking to him. I think he's losing his mind. I really do. I think
Mm.
like next time we do this, I'll tell you my Blackbeard theory. It's a bloody long one, but it's really good, and I'm pretty much convinced that it's right. But it's like I say, it's. I think Blackbeard is just losing more of his mind than he seems to realize. Like that's why he's willing to make such stupid, rash decisions. Like walking into Impel Down with no backup, with no idea what you're going to do with Magellan, who he knew about. He knew Magellan was there. He had
Yeah.
no answers to that poison. Like he should be dead. He survived via dumb luck. Like the guy is not all there, but sometimes he's really smart and makes brilliant decisions. I think his mind is just a bit addled, and he honestly believed the fruit was telling him to eat it.
Yeah, I just think that there might be just like a small little
No,
sliver
you're
of
probably
just
right.
a
Yeah,
little
no, I think you're
voice,
probably right.
and it
Yeah,
basically was like when he saw it, it spoke to him, and that's
yeah,
how he was like, "Oh, this fruit is going to make my dreams come true."
yeah.
You
No,
know,
you're probably right. The way Oda's writing it will probably turn out that you're right, but it just bothers me.
I can understand that. It feels like a predetermination then, and it
Yeah,
feels like,
yeah,
but
exactly,
a lot
exactly.
of what Blackbeard talks about is fate and destiny anyway, and that can
Yeah, but
also
that's what I mean.
be,
That's what I'm saying. I think that it's just his addled mind. I think that he's just like he honestly believes that these things are supposed to be happening to him, but it's all in his head. It's all in his head. It's all in his mind. He thinks all these things are happening specifically for him, but it's all in his head.
Mhm. That would be interesting too. I would like it either way, to be honest.
Yeah,
Um, but no, I love that. I do
yeah,
because I mean I think that either way it works,
yeah.
I'm 100% cool with. If it's like, oh,
The
it is just like a little suggestion versus,
yeah,
like, oh, it's
it's
just
all in their
being,
head.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So the other one is quick, but it's basically. Do you remember when it's Jaya and there's Blackbeard and they say it's not him, it's they?
yes.
That question doesn't actually exist in Japan because the Japanese already know exactly what it means. So
Yeah.
in Japan, the way we have demonstrative pronouns like him over there, her sitting down, the Japanese have so many more. And the one that the Japanese use for Blackbeard when they're saying they is referring to a version of they, I think it's Hashana, which is basically the guy over there who has allies that are about to attack us if we attack him. And it comes from back in feudal Japan, if a lord of a keep only had like a couple of people to guard and like not nowhere near enough guards to like maintain his keep and stuff, they would build scarecrow versions of samurai, and they would put these samurai and they would stand them outside an altar, but making it look like they were waiting for like righteous one-on-one combat. And when another samurai would walk towards it, assuming, okay, fine, one-on-one, this is how it's meant to be, they would just fill him full of arrows from a distance. They're not talking about Blackbeard's multiple personalities. They're talking about Blackbeard's crew members. That again, you have to remember, since before they even land on Jaya, they are being influenced by these crew members. First, it's Van Alga shooting the seagulls.
Yeah.
Then it's Jesus Burgess because they see all of the buildings turned upside down. Then it's Doc Hugh, and then they hear somebody tap dancing. Like I said, at Jaya, some of the crew, at least one of them, interacts with all of the Blackbeard pirates, and Luffy and Zoro realize this isn't just some guy on his own. He's an actual pirate. He's like us. He has a crew. He has people sticking up for him. It doesn't mean they, as in like, oh, he's got multiple personalities, because the Japanese have a separate word for that as well.
Yeah. That has been something that has been debunked for a while, but a lot of people
Exactly,
cling to it.
exactly. Just yeah, exactly. Some people just cling to it, but if you ask anyone from Japan, they will tell you, no, no, no. It means it's a trick where he's going to like gang bang you if you try and attack him on your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
He has
100%.
friends lying in wait. It says here that it means.
Yeah. No, I 100% get it. That one isn't so much a pet peeve to me, but I do get it. It is
I
annoying because
again,
so many
yeah,
people.
exactly. Exactly. I hear it so often. I think if I didn't hear it as often, it wouldn't bother me as much. But because I
Yeah.
hear it so often, and again, when you try and explain to people that the Japanese have different types of demonstrative pronouns, like 50 times more than we do, they don't get it. Like, why did they just say over there? Because they don't have a word for over there. They have a word for something over there that we can't see, but
Yeah.
they don't have. It's yeah. It's so weird. So weird.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Um, but this is where we will wrap, and we will definitely
Yep,
be
definitely.
back to it. Now that we kind of have a little bit of a rhythm as to the time
Yeah,
difference and everything like that.
yeah, it's
Um,
great. Like I said, the time for this was perfect for me.
yeah, so and it's perfect. I have off on the weekends usually. So this worked out really great. So thank you
Excellent.
again so much for coming
My
on,
absolute pleasure.
and thank you for all of the amazing theories, and we'll have to dive even deeper in some of the other ones. And I've really enjoyed this, so thank you
As
so
have I.
much.
If you're lucky, next time I'll tell you what the national treasure is.
Ooh. All right. Well, I'm I'm
There you
I'm very much
go.
looking forward to it.
Excellent.
But I want to excuse me. I want to thank everyone else that showed up in the chat, that was
Yes, thank you
talking
very
to
much.
us. Seb, Maki Jiro, Miyagi, all of you guys. I really appreciate it. It's always great to talk One Piece with someone else, but I also love having the conversation with all of us. So thank you guys so much again, and look forward to next time when the broker comes on, and I'm sure that he will be in the TOPT chat, dropping another theory on there soon as well.
Always.
But thank you guys so much. You guys have a wonderful rest of your night, and I will catch you next time.
Take
Johnny?
care, everyone. Thanks